What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go! This is EJ Stewart. You are watching 40 Days, 40 Nights with me, EJ, where I do 2 live stream shows per day. We do one in the morning around 8 a.m. Apologies, being a little late today. Again, my computer is starting to get to the point where it's like, all right, buddy, let's wrap this up, because it did not want to cooperate at all this morning. So apologies for the false start. Apologies for some of the technical difficulties, but we should be all good to go here. So I'm really excited about that. This will be a fun program for a lot of different reasons, because we're going to talk about a lot of different things under the sun. We're going to be talking about some college basketball. A big game last night that I teased a little bit last night that I wanted to watch. Turned out when I turned on the game, it was a 30-point blowout. But we will talk about UConn's destruction of St. John's. They absolutely trounced the Red Storm in what was a pretty marquee showdown between 2 top 15 teams. Teams fighting for the #1 spot in the Big East, and UConn fighting for an outside shot potentially at number one seed, not overall, but a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit, few minutes right now. I don't know why I'm stumbling. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. We'll also talk about what is Matt Ishbia's proposal to save the dunk contest. And it's actually not that dissimilar from what I've been saying about how to save the dunk contest. So we'll ask if that is something that they can actually get done. We also learned an interesting story about the legend of the Black Mamba, who we know to be Kobe Bryant. But it seems like there was a time where that could have been Michael Jordan. We'll break that down a little bit later as well. One of the big stories that's been happening over the course of the last few days has been the fallout from the Olympics with the men's and women's U.S. hockey teams winning gold medals, and the controversy surrounding a joke made by the president to the men's hockey team, who were just celebrated at the State of the Union, who were just at the White House to be honored for winning the gold medal at the Olympic Games in Milan. And finally, we actually have some commentary or some comments from one of the women on the hockey team who won the gold medal for the U.S., who called the joke distasteful from Donald Trump. So we'll break that down a little bit later as well. And we got some entertainment news. I told you yesterday I wasn't going to skip it because I wanted to make sure that we got to give as much time as we could to a topic that I really, really enjoy, which is, I think this Mortal Kombat 2 trailer was phenomenal, and I could have threw it on at the end of the last night's show, the one that we had with Zach Gell, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give it the justice it deserves. So we'll talk about Mortal Kombat 2 today, and we'll continue to talk about this feud that is ongoing between 50 Cent and T.I. T.I. dropped another diss track last night. 50 Cent, from my standpoint, seems to be backing away from this. So curious if this is potentially a maybe blueprint for other folks who feel like they can't find a way to get 50 Cent off their back once 50 Cent gets into his bag of being the ultimate petty king and the king of all memes. T.I. seemed to back down 50 Cent in a way that haven't seen anybody do yet. So we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. So much to do here on 40 Days and 40 Nights with your boy EJ Stewart, streaming live multiple spots, including streaming live currently on YouTube, New Generation Media. Again, I know there was a false start on the initial post, but there should be a new post up. So if you're on the old live, run to the new live. The new live is where I'm at. So YouTube, New Generation Media is where you'll find me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel while you're there. Also streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart is where you'll find me on X, and streaming live on Instagram, Action EJ. And as always, all episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights does get podcasted, including this Monday's episode, which I was finally able to download after I was able to get the video, the process, because, you know, my hard drive failed on Monday. And now Monday's morning show is up, and both of yesterday's shows are up, including last night's episode with Zach Gell. Want to give a big thanks and shout out to Zach Gell First of all, the kind words he said to me were really generous at the end. And again, I told him checks in the mail. But no, he came in and did a phenomenal job talking hoops, talking football, college football. He's a star and he's a great guy, and I'm just really happy he was able to come on. Because again, I like this 40-day, 40-night run to be a reflection of the people that inspired me and that I admire in this industry. So I really wanted to make sure Zach would be one of those people that I can get on yesterday rather, and we did, and I'm really appreciative of that. And the plan for tonight, still, it's like 95% confirmed, but I want to make sure I get the confirmation text. Maybe I'll try to see if I can confirm it during the show. But we should have a really great guest later tonight that I'm really excited about as well. So we're coming down to the wire here. We're past the hump day of the second to last week, and next week is the penultimate week. I'll tell you one thing. Zach, I don't want to say he put pressure on me, but like I know that for the 40th show, or 80th show technically, maybe the 79th and 80th shows, you kind of like, there's an expectation maybe you do something big. He's like, oh, you got anybody big coming up for the last show or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, I float around ideas in my head, but I don't have anything concrete. I'm keeping a buck. I one of the rules, anytime EJ steps to a mic, EJ keeps 100. I don't have anything planned currently. Do I have ideas? Sure. I kick them around in my head, but nothing that I've actually put into action yet. But now I feel pressure because Zach has put it out there. Because not that I would always make sure the show would be as great as possible, but I wasn't necessarily married to the idea that it had to be this crazy guest-filled show or the best guest ever had to be on that last show. But now I kind of feel a little pressure from Zach after he asked me what I was going to do for that final show. So I'll definitely, next week, I want to make sure we get a great group of guests and we bang this final 5 days of the show really, aggressively and as fun as we possibly can. But thank you guys for rocking with me throughout this entire journey. We're on day 34. This is the Hakeem Olajuwon day, if we're doing numbers right, or Shaq on the Magic day, if we're doing sports numbers. So really excited for you guys to join me, and thank you again. But all episodes are podcasted, including last night's episode with Zach Gell, which was night 33. You can find all of those episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Just search New Generation Podcast Network. New Generation Podcast Network is where you'll find these episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights and all the other episodes that encompass New Generation Media, including there's a recent Hero Talk episode that is up. There's also a new, Imperial Broadcast episode that's up, that Star Wars podcast that my brothers do. So there's new content on there outside even 40 Days and 40 Nights now. So be sure to get up there and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Because 40 Days and 40 Nights win, but that's not going to be the end of New Generation Media. It's not going to be the end of me behind the mic. It's not going to be the end of anything. There's going to be a lot more fun content coming throughout the entire year. So keep it locked here. It won't be me doing 2 shows per day. That's for damn sure. But there will be other fun, really exciting stuff on the channel. So whether you're subscribing to the YouTube channel, New Generation Media, or you're subscribing to the podcast channel, New Generation Podcast Network, be sure to keep it locked in because we're going to have a lot of fun stuff coming at you in 2026. Let's keep it moving here, and let's begin with last night's destruction in Hartford. UConn annihilates St. John's 72-40. This game was pretty much over kind of around halftime. St. John's had a stretch where they missed 24 straight shots. They started the game shooting the ball poorly. They finished the game shooting the ball 20% from the field. For a team that I think most people respect as, I don't know if people see them as a Final Four team or whatever, but potentially a second weekend team, and a team that has been won 13 straight games. I think people thought, okay, St. John's is really righted the ship, and I think there was a lot of excitement for this game. I talked about this game being like, this is a marquee game I can't wait to watch. And I came out of the show last night, dug in. Andrea was like, we're going to watch Love is Blind. And I was like, well, I kind of got to watch this game, but let me put it on, I'll put it on my iPad, and we can watch Love is Blind in the background. And I turned it on, and UConn was up at that point, I think 24 points. And I was like, whoa, I did not expect that to happen. So I was like, okay, I think we could safely watch Love is Blind at this point. But checking in on the game this morning, UConn's defense was phenomenal. Again, when you shoot the ball that badly, though, it kind of gives you no shot. But UConn's defense was phenomenal. I thought Tarris Reed, for a front line in St. John's, I think is extremely formidable with Hopkins and Zuby Ejiofor. Reed took over the game. He had 6 blocks, I believe. He was dominant in the paint. He was forceful in terms of demanding the ball. Great job sealing guys in order to get kind of some easy lobs and easy layups. He was a force. Bryce Mullins hit some I thought back-breaking threes. And Caravan is a he's a super veteran, so I wasn't surprised he showed up big. And what was definitely going to be, I think this was a character game for UConn, because UConn is playing in a Big East that I don't think challenges them the way we typically would expect a Big East to challenge UConn. And I feel like they've kind of been coasting for the last month or so. They had the loss to St. John's, which, St. John's is a good team, so that's possible to happen. You go to MSG, awesome atmosphere, maybe the best atmosphere we've had in college basketball this season outside of some of these games at Fog Island Fieldhouse. Like, okay, road loss, you expect that, but then you lose to Creighton. And even these games that they've been winning against Villanova and the like, they haven't really been able to run away from any of these teams. So I think people were wondering, like, who is UConn going into March here? And I think this was them showing the world and making a statement being like, oh, do not forget about us in terms of this national championship picture. And I don't think you can. They have a really good backcourt. Again, Caravan and Reed in the front court are about as good forward center tandem as you can get. Again, Mullins is a sniper. They got a really good team. Solo Ball, who I thought maybe could have entered the NBA draft last year, is still there, and he's had another really good season. They have a really good team, and they showed it last night. Now you have them tied with the Red Storm in the Big East loss column, so technically they're in first place. But when you get this late in the season, it's kind of hard to say first place because they have played more games than St. John's. So UConn has 2 more games left. St. John's has 3. So UConn, if they win out and St. John's wins out, it'll be a tie for the Big East championship, and they'll be co-champions because they would have split in the regular season. So that would be a regular season title for both UConn and St. John's. But everything's on the table for them to potentially win this conference outright, and then you head into the Big East tournament. I get the feeling with UConn, if they win this game, win out, sorry, they won this game, right? If they win out, and then they win the Big East tournament, where they, especially if they see St. John's in a championship atmosphere back at Madison Square Garden, a little different because it's a Big East tournament, but still would be probably a pro St. John's crowd. So I'll say pseudo road game, but say pseudo very strongly because UConn also has a really big fan base in New York City, and UConn fans pack Madison Square Garden anytime they play at the Garden. That will be an electric atmosphere, by the way. We need to find a way for this to happen if we can get St. John and UConn back playing at Madison Square Garden this year, because the first game was epic. I would expect that they win out, which is what they would have to do. I think they would probably get a 1 seed. That's the feeling I have, just because those teams outside of Duke, those teams that are ahead of them, so you're talking about your Iowa State, your Arizonas, they probably have at least another loss on their schedule just because of how tough the Big 12 is. So if those are the teams that they're going to be competing with for a potential 1 seed, I think those teams are going to lose maybe 1, maybe 2 games. So if that happens, then UConn's going to slide up. Right now, they're number 6 in the actual, rankings, which is kind of, you kind of throw out the window. But in terms of, I think when you think of the teams that have an opportunity at number 1 seeds, I would expect there to be probably 6 to 8 teams who can probably come into this final stretch here and say we actually have a legitimate shot. So Duke, like right now, Joe Lenardi has Duke, Michigan, UConn has 1, and Arizona has 1 right now. So he already has UConn as a number 1 seed. That was as of Tuesday, and that was before the St. John's game. So I think UConn is in pretty good shape. Now, again, you'll have Iowa State, who took a loss over the weekend. Illinois took a loss over the weekend, and Houston took a loss over the weekend. Now, those teams play much better competition, but I think UConn, I think the name, the brand, I think what they've done in recent years, winning back-to-back championships, I would expect that they would get a lot of rope in terms of, like, maybe your conference schedule wasn't the toughest. Maybe you kind of feel like it looks like you've been coasting a little bit. But as long as you win out and you win the Big East tournament, you will be a number 1 seed. This was a huge game. Because if they lose this game, I don't think that they have a shot at it. I'll be honest. If they lose this game, I don't think they could have been a 1 seed. Because if they lose this game, that would have been a sweep. St. John sweeps them in the regular season. And even if they win the Big East tournament, let's say they don't get St. John's in the Big East tournament, then you still have this question mark where, all right, the top team in your conference you never beat. or if you beat St. John's, you say, okay, you beat them, but it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. I think you might have been able to, talk your way into maybe giving a number 1 seed to either a Big 12 or a Big 10 team in that scenario. I think in this scenario, which by the way, UConn also looking so dominant, where it looks like that first result, you kind of wonder, was that a game where like you have to throw it out completely because of how you kind of responded, or was this more of an aberration? Here's Rick Pitino, who was talking about this game. He said this was one of the worst losses he's had. He dated back to when he first became the head coach at Kentucky.
It only happened to me 2 times in my career. Once was my first year at Kentucky when we went into Fog Allen at Kansas. But I was playing with a very much an inferior team and some walk-ons, not with this type of team. So it's all on me. I'm very disappointed in our performance offensively, especially of sharing the ball, moving the ball. So it's all on me. But we'll get ready for Villanova. We're still playing for a league championship.
Yeah, and first of all, I think Rick had the right approach. Losses that bad can actually really rattle a team's confidence. And I thought St. John's looked rattled. The amount of turnovers, the shots that they typically, UConn wasn't giving them much, but shots that they typically can make, they couldn't hit the side of a barn if they were standing 5 feet outside. I mean, it was ugly. One of the worst offensive performances St. John's has had ever, quite frank. I mean, this is the worst loss they've taken to UConn in their entire history. That was stunning to me when I saw that stat. I was like, and as a St. John's fan, someone who grew up rooting for St. John's, loving St. John's, I feel like St. John's has taken so many like devastating losses to UConn that seemed impossible that this was the worst one. But I guess in St. John's worst years, UConn left the conference. That's the only thing I think of as to how that was possible. But a 32-point loss is the worst loss St. John's has ever taken to UConn in what is an awesome rivalry. And I think has especially since Rick Pitino's got there, has really revved up in a way that it hasn't been this way since I was a kid. It's been awesome to see these teams playing in these big games. I just remember being a kid, like, to see even say the names, like, it pisses me off. Those guys are awesome, they're legends, but to think about the Rip Hamiltons and the Khalid El Amins and see St. John's go up to Hartford or go up to Stores and those impossible environments, and they never played well at UConn. UConn always beat them up there. St. John's chance to beat them always was going to be at the Garden, which is ironic because that's kind of how it feels right now, which is also why when I saw this was the worst loss St. John's took at UConn, I thought that was impossible, partly because I was like, I feel like when I was a kid, I remember them taking bad losses. And then St. John's obviously got really bad for a long time. So I would have assumed that at some point during that stretch that they also took a really tough loss to UConn, but that's not the case. This is the worst one they've ever had. I think with St. John's, I think the reality is that they're a good team, that they're not a great team. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't go deep into March, but it probably means you can't win a national championship. That's the thing about March Madness that makes it so crazy is like you don't have to be a great team to advance very far. All you have to do is play well on that day and survive and advance, baby, right? That's why you see these Cinderellas go on long runs. That's why you see teams come up out of nowhere and go on long runs. But you typically don't see those teams win championships. You can even see those teams go to the Final Four, but even that's a little rare. So I think with St. John's, when their offense, and they're not typically this bad an offensive team. That's why this game was so weird, because I'm like, I think of St. John's issues more being on the defensive end than offensively. And I thought their defense actually wasn't great against Reed, but otherwise I thought their defense was kind of okay. They kind of kept themselves in the game for a stretch, but you missed 24 shots in a row. There's no answer for you being able to then come back. There's no defense to stop a team like that. So I thought the defense was okay in this game, but they're just... It's weird to call a team that won 13 games in a row Jekyll and Hyde, but I feel like the worst, like, when St. John's rears its ugly head in, like, the worst way, like, it just looks like a team that doesn't look anywhere close to a team that can win a Final Four. We haven't seen this version of the team in a long time, but this team was kind of the team I feel like I watched a lot during the non-conference. So it does give me a little bit of freeze and a little bit of pause in terms of, like, the excitement that people were starting to get back into St. John's, saying, hey, man, like, we may have an opportunity here to go to the Final Four. Last year, everyone thought that was the year for St. John's as a 2 seed, and then they got upset by Arkansas in the second round. Maybe this will be the year, even though they started off slow, when you're facing one of the elite opponents who, because of where St. John's is going to be seated, you'll probably see in either the second round or the Sweet 16. I think St. John's is going to be somewhere. They need to try to get to a 5 seed. They get to a 4 or 5. At least you can stave off a 1 seed matchup until the Sweet 16. But I mean, we got games to play. Like if they slip to 6, which is not out of the question, now you're talking about playing a 3 seed in the second round potentially, and that becomes dicey. St. John's, I still question their guard play. I still question whether they'll defend on a regular basis. The defense has been much better as of late, but here they had a team matchup against a truly elite opponent, and they looked like they didn't belong on the floor. So I'll be curious to see how they respond. Rick Pitino, in my opinion, I think he's not the greatest. I think he's the best college basketball coach of all time. Greatest and best are two different things. Greatest is probably John Wooden or Coach K. For me, best, I'm thinking about if I had one game to win, and I don't even know who my roster is, and I had to pick a coach to win that game, who would I pick? I would probably pick Rick Pitino. Because Rick Pitino, he coaches multiple defenses. He can coach multiple styles of play. He's been to a bunch of different schools and taken them all deep into the Final Four, except for St. John's. And he just got there. And Iona, of course. But he just got there. He may end up taking them to the Final Four. He's a phenomenal basketball coach. Off the court, I'm not getting into that. But basketball, Rick Pitino's the man. So he is the one that keeps me still locked in to say, you know what, I know they don't have great point guard play. I know their defense can be up and down. But it's Rick Pitino, and there's no one who knows how to maneuver a March Madness situation better than him right now as coaching. The only guys you would say are maybe Dan Hurley and maybe Tom Izzo. But he has just as many championships as those guys do. He has more than Izzo. So that's going to be St. John's a superpower. So I thought he had the right approach to say this was on me, because that's the kind of loss that could actually rattle a team's cage in terms of their confidence. And Rick is a tough coach. I mean, we see them mic'd up. We see them get after his guys on the sidelines and behind the locker room, backstage to the locker room. St. John's had their documentary series last year. This is the game where I think you kind of have to play a little psychologist with your team. You gotta be like, hey guys, that was unacceptable. We know we didn't play well, but there's things I gotta improve. I gotta get you guys right, because you guys should not have played that way. The fact that we did, that's a reflection on me. And the fact that he took the brunt of the blame for this loss, he has had at times, well, for the most part, he was batting 1,000 until the whole RJ Lewis stuff happened last year. But he at times can, in tough moments, I think kind of skirt responsibility and skirt accountability, which is what I think he did a ton of in last year's NCAA tournament loss to Arkansas. This was the right thing, and maybe that he learned from that, honestly, that this was the right approach to take this. So I thought him saying this is on me, we'll see what happens, but we're gonna get this thing right. I haven't had taken a loss this bad, so if I'm taking a loss this bad, then it's definitely on me. So I think I appreciated that. The reality is your team misses 24 shots in a row. You're going to lose to any team you face. They could have faced DePaul and they would have lost to this team. They would have lost to them, missing 24 shots in a row. So UConn wins, really putting a strong, maybe the strongest stamp they have left on their case to be a number 1 seed, with the exception of a potential Big East championship tournament game matchup against the Johnnies, if indeed that does happen in a couple of weeks. CJ Stewart, we're doing 40 days and 40 nights here on day 34. This is a story I haven't touched much. It's not that I was afraid not to touch it, but just I didn't really, until I think I heard from the women, I didn't want to say much about it. But we do have now comments from one of the gold medalists from the U.S. women's national team. So this all starts from, we talked about it on Monday, the amazing performance from the men's team in winning the U.S. gold medal to beat Canada. First time they won the U.S. gold medal in hockey since 1980, the Miracle on Ice year. And it was an awesome moment. No doubt about that. And one of the stories that have come out of it, and this reason, one of the reasons I didn't talk about, because it was more kind of on the political side of it, but the FBI director, Kash Patel, video surfaced that he was there at the game. He was in the locker room. He was celebrating. He was, champagne, beer, all that stuff. They gave him the gold medal. And then, which, whatever, I'm not going to get into that. But he did that. And, he got the president on the phone to congratulate the guys, that's normal. The president, congratulating the team and congratulating them for the gold medal. So President Trump, delivers like, hey, congratulations, you guys did a great job. You really did your thing. And then he makes a comment, during the middle of this congratulations to the men's team saying, we're going to invite you guys to the White House. We're really excited about that. Unfortunately, we're going to have to invite the women too. Otherwise, I get impeached. And the whole team laughs. They take it in stride. And that part of it, the cash bell part is still controversial. But that particular part with the actual comment from the president sparked a lot of frustration because here you had a moment where it appeared like the women were being kind of degraded and kind of made to feel lesser than that, this was going to be a kind of a pity invite to bring them to the White House for winning the gold medal. But they have to, because if they're going to invite the men, they would have to invite the women. Now, the women have said that they're not going. They said that there were schedule conflicts that would not have allowed them to go, so they weren't going to. They didn't go. Was it actual schedule conflicts? Did they just tell them to go scratch? I don't know, but that's what they're saying. So they did not go to the White House. The U.S. men's team did, and they did. They were at the State of the Union, and they were at the White House. They all met the president, and that part of it seemed to be just run of the mill what happens with a team going to the White House, but the comment from President Trump really, from the political standpoint, put a lot of heat on President Trump, but also put a lot of heat on the men's team as well, because the men's team heard this joke and they seemed to love it. They didn't respond in a weird way. They didn't seem like that's odd. They all laughed, right? And it's become a back and forth conversation about, what are they supposed to do in that moment or whatever. And again, I really didn't say much about it because I didn't know how the women's team felt. So I don't want to be jumping out the window saying something if the women's team doesn't feel a way about it. But it seems like they do. Because here you have Hillary Knight, U.S. Gold medalist for the U.S. Women's hockey team. She was on Sports Center yesterday, and she says that the joke definitely was in poor taste.
I thought it was sort of a distasteful joke, and unfortunately that is overshadowing a lot of the success and, the success of just women at the Olympics carrying for Team USA and having amazing gold medal feats. And so we're just trying to focus on celebrating the women in our room, the extraordinary efforts, and continue to celebrate 3 gold medals in program history, as well as the double gold for both men's and women's at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, the way Hillary describes it, she, says it's taking away from their accomplishment, that this has become a story. And that's been kind of the weird thing about this, is because people have kind of stressed that, what's the big deal about what was said, or what's the big deal about how the men responded. And I think essentially that's the big deal. And that's why that's why I'm playing this sound. That's why I appreciated the comment from Knight. Because to get away from wherever you are, left or right, like I always say, I do not care. I do not care what you think about any Trump, Hillary, not Hillary Trump tonight, Hillary Clinton, of course. Come on, I don't care about that. Do not care. Could care less. My point is to talk about just what's right, what we're losing sight of when something like this happens, and to understand where these players could feel slighted. And you got to put whatever feelings you have maybe aside for this one conversation. Because to me, I look at this and I say, that's the whole problem with this. Because if the president doesn't make a comment about how I guess we got to invite the women too, obviously none of this happens. And I think all it would have taken for me for this to go away is for simply someone from the men's team to come out and say, yeah, we heard what the president said. We really appreciate him. We love that he supported us. We didn't love that. We love the women, and they're a part of this group. And we appreciate the president's congratulations. We didn't love that part of it. That's all they had to say. And I'm not telling them what to do. They do what the hell they want. That's also part of this. And people go crazy about, you're Trump. I'm not telling them to do anything. If they want to have people all over their ass and complain about them and yelling about them, then do what they do. I'm telling you what you could have done to maybe smooth the situation over. But what I've seen from the men's team, and what I've also seen from, and this is a guy I respect greatly, and I've given him a ton of props on this show. I've seen from Josh Pate, because he recently had the president on, is they feel this victimhood and this what's the word? Like this reflex to say, I got to go into my turtle shell and curl up and get ready for the quote unquote mob to come after me, without really understanding how a lot of these things, when you talk about dealing with anything involving politics, is going to come with shrapnel. It's going to come with scrutiny, and especially with a administration that is polarizing. It just is what it is. You can pretend like it's not, or you can pretend like it shouldn't be that big a deal. But that's you living in a fantasy world, and this would be the case. It doesn't matter if this was Joe Biden. It doesn't matter who the president is. At this point in time, if you're going to do anything that's standing 10 toes or seemingly supporting any administration, you're going to deal with some heat. But regardless of politics, the answer to me for the men's U.S. hockey team was simply just to say, we got love for the president for showing us love. We didn't love that comment. And, if we had to do it all over again, that was a tough spot for us to say anything because he is the president and he was showing us love. But we want to make sure now that the moment is over, we can come back and tell you where we don't like that. We were laughing. It probably wasn't that funny. That's all you had to say. All you had to say. And I'll give you a little hint. Even if you don't mean it, even if you're just like, I just don't want these people to be all over my asshole this whole time. That's all you had to say. And the fact that they wouldn't, I think, is what actually, and the fact that they've been pretending like they've been victims in this when the people that were disrespected were the women's team. Like, you were disrespected. You didn't have the president say you guys were, going to have a pity invite to the White House. The women were. So why are you acting like you're a victim? You're not a victim, Jack Hughes. You're not a victim, Quinn Hughes. You got to go to the White House. You got to eat the McDonald's at the White House. You got to go to the State of the Union. You're not a victim here. Yeah, you're disappointing some people with your response, but don't act like a victim when you're not. That's part of the reason why people are upset. It's not that hard. So this was Jack Hughes. He was on GMA. This was prior to Hillary's comments, where he's talking about how exciting it was to win a gold medal. And he mentions how he gets cut off because he loses his voice. He has to get some water. But he's about to go in about how he was not liking the narratives that were coming out of that call that came from President Trump.
So happy that we could share that with them. And on top of that, I know that there's been so much headlines and about us and the women's hockey team and the video, but we hung out we're in the cafeteria with them at 3:30 in the morning.
And listen, Jack Hughes is a young man, and I think one of the things I always try to hold grace for everybody, especially with professional athletes, is I am now older than most star athletes, which is crazy for me to say out loud because I don't feel that old. I feel that old with my knee. Besides that, I don't feel that old. But I'm older than most professional athletes, and some of the athletes that I now watch and I cover. I'm used to them being older than me or being contemporary age. Now I'm older than these guys. So even hearing Jack Hughes and seeing his face, first of all, he seems legitimately hurt by I guess a lot of the attacks that he's gotten. And there's a lot of things that go into just Jack Hughes because he was someone that got heat for standing up for NHL having Pride nights and why that was important. So he probably feels like this is coming from he's not someone who's a bad person or has views that maybe match the president's, and he probably feels what is going on? I don't even why are you guys coming after me in this hard way? So he looks hurt. Watching him, it's kind of weird, and he struggled to talk, and he had to get water. So this has definitely affected him. So one of the things I try to remember that these guys are young. A lot of these guys are in their early 20s, mid 20s, especially this team. A lot of the stars or some of the guys are mid to early 20s. Jack Hughes is essentially a baby when it comes to NHL hockey. So I try to remember that. I think as an audience, as one of the things I wish just all of us would have is just a tiny hint of grace for more people, and also understanding that at the end of the day, a lot of stuff is not that serious, and these are people who have to deal with what feels like an avalanche. It's also part of the reason I didn't want to jump into this. I was I don't know if I need to be add to the chorus of this. Everyone's talking about what they feel about it. But I will say that I just think, again, forget about whatever attacks you're taking. It's simply about understanding the moment, understanding that these people that you claim you care about, they were disrespected. And what women fear, which is what a lot of women have said, is that You can be our allies. You can hang out with us. You can support us. You can do all the great things to show that you're one of us. And then when you're behind closed doors with other men who do not support us or do not see us as equals, that you're going to resort to acting just like they act, and you're going to resort to responding just how they respond to our success and our goals and all those different things. That is the fear that women have. Again, you're not a victim for them feeling that way. You're not a victim for people to say, hey, you really let a lot of people down with how you responded to that particular moment. It's not necessarily, of course, are there people that think that are just, they just hate President Trump? Yeah, of course, that's part of it. But take that out of it. It could have been any president. If any president would have said, I could argue maybe no other president would, but that's another conversation. If any other president, or it doesn't have to be a political figure. It could literally be anybody. It could be somebody who is, I don't know, it was Gary Bettman. I have no idea if Gary Bettman would say something like this. But let's say it could have been Gary Bettman. It could have been Stephen Colbert. It doesn't matter. It could have been any person in that room. If someone made a comment like that, and then it got played and you showed that you guys were laughing about that, and then you guys seem very totally fine with like being fully embraced by this person who disrespected your quote unquote friends, they would feel away. I feel like running to the, oh, people are just getting political about this thing. I feel like that's a coward's way out. That's the loser's way out. It ain't about politics, it's about decency. But I think what we're seeing from these folks is when it comes to decency and when it comes to taking accountability, they trying to find the easiest little thing that they could find. So it's like, oh, cool, this is President Trump. I know everybody hates him and whatever. So I'm gonna play that lane. I'm not wrong. You guys are wrong. Like that comment could have come from anybody, and people and they women would have felt the exact same way. It doesn't like that's the problem with this is that you can talk about how much you guys supported them. And Quinn Hughes said similar things, saying, hey, listen, I know people are saying a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, like, we're great friends with the U.S. Women's hockey team. And I don't doubt that they are. Like, I don't doubt any of that. But there are women on that team, your supposed friends, and then there are female fans who watch you guys and were fans. Like, that's a part about this, too, that always, like, I find really crazy. Like, you know, I always say this. Like, I don't always say this, but I'll say this now. I say this behind closed doors. Like, I have people who have listened to my radio shows, who've listened to Maggie and Perloff, who've watched anything I've done, who are political lies everywhere. And my whole thing is about respect. I respect everybody's views, respect everybody's opinion, and I have a responsibility not to, in my opinion, jump on a mic and attack people for whatever they think. I can have my own views, but I think there's a responsibility and understanding I have to have, and that comes with that. And what is so confusing to me is how so many, at times, some pro athletes or entertainers or whatever, they don't seem to quite understand that. And then when they and my thing is, you can do whatever you want. You can decide, oh, listen, look, I'm gonna just say how I feel. I'm gonna attack this person or attack that person. But then I think that they should be able to do that with impunity. And like, as people aren't gonna actually have a feeling about that or feel away. You know, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Like, I don't think, yeah, Jack Hughes, you're saying that, oh, you don't understand why people are getting after you guys, and some of these other, commentators and talking about, oh, you guys, why are you guys making a big deal out of this? You're ruining the moment of them, winning the gold medal. No, the moment was ruined when the comment was made. That's when the moment was ruined. And in my opinion, if you ask me how I feel, I don't think there's anything those guys could have done in that moment. You can't grab the phone from Cash Patel and say, hey, man, that's not cool, and hang up on President Trump. I'm not an idiot. I understand that. And there's some people who may not feel that way, but that's how I feel. I do think, again, it would not have been that hard to, as soon as that video resurfaces, have a team statement just saying, hey, we got a lot of love for President Trump and his support for us. That comment we didn't agree with and we didn't appreciate, but we're really excited to be back at the White House. That doesn't... People are going to get offended by anything, but neutrally, that doesn't offend anybody. You're saying you didn't disagree with one comment, you appreciate the support. That's all you had to do. But again, because people skirt accountability, nowadays. It's one of the things I hate the most, man. Like, just be accountable. Like, you made it. Something happened. You didn't respond in the best way, but it was a tough situation. I think a lot of people can understand how tough a situation that is in the moment. But I think it's gotten worse because of how they've responded to it. All they had to do was be like, hey, man, that was not what we wanted. We still excited to go to the White House. Will people be upset that you still went to the White House? Yes. Will people still be upset that you went to the State of the Union? Yes. Those are, to me, again, those are personal views. That's beyond what we're talking about here. I'm talking about this particular thing. And I'm really glad one of the women on the team said something. Because they didn't like this. Like, again, we're not idiots. That's why this whole conversation has been so stupid and why I didn't want to get involved. Because you got people who are going on in front of microphones and cameras acting as if this was not a big deal and, nobody would care about this. And the only reason they are oxygen they have to even put that out in the universe is because the women's team didn't have a chance to respond. And because they took the high road and didn't even say, hey, we're not going to the White House out of protest. We're going because we had scheduling conflicts or whatever. They tried their best to try to make this thing as move forward and say nothing as possible. But it's important that they do say something. So I'm glad Hillary finally said something. Yo, man, that was whack. We didn't like it. It was just it was right. It was just distasteful. Was it the worst thing in the world? Did somebody die? No. It was distasteful. It sucked. It objectively sucked. There was no reason to say that. And I again, like, it's tough with anything involving 47. It's tough with anything involving politics because we're an extremely polarized nation. But I just think for those U.S. Men's national team players, the victimhood that they ran to when they got a little pushback from this, and they didn't think about their quote unquote friends. There was all these comments that they've made has been about how other people don't understand and other people are coming after them. And the only talk about the actual women's team that I've seen coming from those comments was essentially being like, well, we hung out with them. We're friends with them. We're cool. It's not responding to the moment in time. I'll tell you what, if you're my friend, and you're behind closed doors and somebody says something crazy about me or about my group or my team or whatever, like if you're my friend and then you're in a board meeting and someone starts talking crazy about Maggie and Pearl, you just laugh, ha ha ha. Like, I'm not gonna really think you're my friend. That's just a natural thing. If I was in a situation where someone was talking crazy about my friends, like I don't know, I'm cut from a different cloth, man. Like, and people who know me, who really know me, know what I'm about. Like, you say stuff about somebody, and that's why you'll hear Pro off joke. I mean, EJ likes everybody. EJ stands up for everybody. Like, I keep it 100, not just on this mic, but also in my life. You don't talk about my friends. You don't talk about the people I care about. I'm gonna at least push back. I'm not gonna just let crap slide. I almost cursed again. I dropped the F-bomb yesterday. It was funny. I'm not gonna just let stuff slide. I'm gonna say a comment, or I'm gonna say, oh wow, and just keep it moving. I'm not gonna co-sign that. I'm not gonna do whatever. But I'm a real person. I'm a real man. That's what real men do. Not comic is made. It's a tough moment. I understand. I'm not, again, suggesting they should have grabbed the phone and said, screw you, President Trump, and hung up. But then you get some backlash. You can't even come out and say, you know what, yeah, we didn't. No one can even say, I didn't agree with that comment. Why can't you even say that? No, it's all you people are so crazy and you're going all over the top and you don't actually understand. No, I think we understand pretty well because your quote unquote friend just said that was distasteful. They didn't like it. So I think this is going to be the end of it. I don't think we're going to have more coming out of this, but because I think now that the NHL season's on, now they're going to move forward. It's going to be very easy for the guys to say, oh, I'm just focused on the season because that's what they're going to do. But I didn't know if we'd hear anything from the women because they seem to want to just take it in stride and keep it moving and keep it positive. But yeah, it sucked. It sucked that like they had to get dropped into anything involving the men's team winning a gold medal, getting congratulated by Trump. It sucked. What they did was awesome and phenomenal. They've been dominant. They dominated that tournament. They were one of the best stories of the Olympics. It's not the people who were offended by President Trump making that remark who are the problem. The problem is the remark that was made, and then their counterparts who again, are supposed to be their allies, didn't do anything in the moment, but then afterwards made it worse because they decided, you know what, actually I'm the victim. It's not the women's that are the victim now, it's me. I'm the one that's being victimized. Like, give me a break. You guys are Trumps. I mean, it sucks because these guys were heroes. And all I hear is this bitching and moaning from these guys. Like, stand up for your friends. Say, hey man, we didn't like that part of it. We should have been better, and then we move it. Now this victims of stuff, man. It's corny, completely corny. I would expect this topic would have a lot of comments. Let's see which ones I feel comfortable putting on the big screen here. Yeah, Bob Custer saying privately the men's players felt differently in terms of comments that were made. That's the fear, right? Is, you know, they can say what they say publicly about how they support the women, but then they feel a certain way. President Trump can make that kind of comment, and they could be like, ha ha ha, so funny, ha ha ha. And again, I think most people aren't stupid. We all understand that it's an impossible moment there. It's like when you're with like your great uncle who makes some like off-color remark about somebody or that you know is kind of not PC, and you're not gonna fight your uncle. You're not gonna yell at him, but you're like, oh, okay, and just keep it moving. Like, but like we all understand that. We've been there. We've been there when somebody of an older generation says something off-color that you're like, I don't really agree with, I don't love, and it's probably not great. But you're not gonna fight the person. We get that. But once it becomes public that happened, the point is to say, hey man, like, I want to be clear. I disagree with what that person said. And I wish I would have had the stones or whatever to say something about it, but we just didn't feel like that was the appropriate moment to do that. It's not that hard. Again, this stuff isn't that hard. That's why it annoys me. Because to me, it's like, I can understand if stuff is tricky or whatever, but like, to me, when stuff isn't that hard in terms of making an apology or just moving forward from a story or just showing support for people that you claim are your friends, and you run to victimhood, it's like you purposely don't want to give up whatever pride or whatever thing you have in your soul that makes you feel like you don't deserve this heat. When it's like, forget about the heat. Those are people you're supposed to care about. Channing Bling says, but the guys needed to say more period now because of it. They're fighting for the same damn side. What the F? Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know why they simply couldn't just say, hey, we didn't like that. We love that President Trump supported us. We're really excited to go to the White House. Really excited to go to the State of the Union. That's what they wanted to do. I'm not gonna, again, that's, to me, this isn't the venue to argue about whether or not they should be doing those things. About when something gets said about your quote unquote friend, should you say something? I think that I can comment on, and that I can understand. It's to me, it's ridiculous. I don't know. It's a sad situation. And you would think, you know, these guys are all they're professional athletes. Some of the women are too, but like they play in the NHL. Like, these guys have marketing teams behind them, PR teams behind them. I assume U.S. Hockey has a marketing and PR team. Like, aren't they all also under the same umbrella? I would assume. I know it's men's and women's, but I assume U.S. Hockey is just U.S. Hockey. Like, how did this happen? It's bizarre. Anywho, speaking of bizarre, what if Kobe Bryant wasn't actually the Black Mamba? Could you have imagined that? Because apparently that almost happened. So this was a story I saw yesterday that I couldn't believe, because I was like, there's no way this is true. But it kind of makes sense when you think about it. So we know Kobe Bryant, you know, the great Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant, he, you know, nicknamed himself the Black Mamba around the early 2000s. And it became part of a Nike marketing campaign. And it's funny living through like Kobe's legacy. That's one thing I love about, not too many things I love about getting old. The one thing I do love about getting old is actually seeing things happen in real time and knowing the responses and knowing how people felt about it, and then seeing how it ages. Like, I remember when Kobe tried to push the Black Mamba nickname, there were people at the time who kept saying this is like really corny that you're trying to give yourself a nickname. But he was Kobe Bryant. He was so beloved by so many people, and it kind of worked. Like it was a perfect nickname for him. He was this assassin on the court. He was this quick strike athlete, and because of now this is kind of a dark thing, but because of kind of what he went through with the Colorado stuff, he no longer was kind of the Mr. Smiley, baby face kind of guy. He kind of was pseudo villainous a little bit. So the snake thing worked. Like. It worked, even though some people were saying at the time, hey, this is kind of weird. Who gives yourself a nickname? But what I didn't know, at least until yesterday, was that this actually was a campaign that was originally slated for Michael Jordan. So this was from Baxter Holmes, who's a phenomenal writer for ESPN. He dove into how Nike created an entire ad campaign for the Air, I'm reading this from CBS Sports, Air Jordan 19. One of my favorite Jordans, by the way, of all time. I can't wait for when those Jordans become retro enough to where you can like buy them again, because those are one of the Jordans that I wish I would have bought. My parents would have got me as a kid, and I never got them. That was a couple times I was close, but never quite got them. Love the 19s, but they're like a basketball shoe. I don't really know if you rock them, and I rock them right now, but they're kind of like for a basketball shoe. I was like, this is a crazy looking shoe. I loved it. But anyway, shout out to the 19s. But they created this campaign for the Air Jordan 19 around the Black Mamba to highlight the tech flex material that resembled a snake skin, which makes a ton of sense. If you ever see the Air Jordan 19 sneaker, it is essentially the primary one. They had a bunch of other ones come out. The primary one is a white sneaker with this, again, tech flex material in the front that was very like silky, and it was wild. It was kind of a weird looking shoe. So I was like, oh yeah, it does look like a snake skin. And they were going to compare the Black Mamba's speed and deadly strike to Jordan's on-the-court ability. The campaign went public briefly, including a 2-page print ad in a 2004 issue of ESPN magazine, but never appeared again at the request of Michael Jordan. So you think, okay, what happened? Why didn't this become Michael Jordan's thing? Why wasn't he the Black Mamba? MJ's afraid of snakes, apparently. Rare Air author Mark Vansel says he was terrified. If you watch TV with him and a snake came on, he'd change the channel. And Jordan goes, if you write that, somebody's going to get killed because somebody's going to throw a snake one day. Michael Jordan apparently has an extreme phobia for snakes. So that one ad went out, and then that was it. You never saw anything about Black Mambas and Jordans ever again. Then a few years later, Kobe Bryant took on the Black Mamba moniker, and he ran with it. And he even said that he was inspired by the Black Mamba scene in Kill Bill 2. So he kind of like put a little twist on it to make it not seem like it was directly linked to Jordan, but it just kind of goes to an RIP to the late great Kobe Bryant. It does kind of go to the what I think they tried to always understate when he was playing, and I don't mean, when I say they, not in the media, I mean like him and like the people around him, Lakers or whatever, like how much Mike influenced him, how much he loved Michael Jordan, how much he idolized Michael Jordan. They always kind of try to downplay that when he was in his prime, but I think we've seen now since he retired, and unfortunately since he passed away, I mean, he clearly was like Michael Jordan's like stan, and we know the game was similar. We know, and when Michael Jordan had, he was very tearful during Kobe Bryant's memorial service at the Crypto.com arena, and he said, Kobe Bryant was like my little brother. It kind of, I know it took me aback. I think it took some fans aback. We were like, oh, I didn't know like MJ was that close to Kobe in that way. Like we knew there was some kind of relationship, and we saw the famous picture and the famous thing when they were playing in Chicago in '98. It might have been right before the '98 All-Star game, but when Kobe asked him about how he did a move on the court, and Jordan explained it to him during a free throw, his shots being made. It's actually one of the pictures I actually would love to get framed one day and post it in one of my, I don't know where I'm gonna have space in this apartment, but I would love to have that picture framed as well, because I think of foundation moments as a kid growing up, that's one of them. But then again, like you see these things, all right, but like, what is their relationship beyond that? Again, this tells me that, oh wow, Kobe really, really, really idolized Michael Jordan. I mean, he even took a nickname that was supposed to be given to Mike and said, I'll take it, I'll be the Black Mamba. And I mean, he lived up to it. So then, again, reading this article here, the organic nature of Bryant's embrace of the Black Mamba made it work as a nickname, and the timeline backs it up. Being a mere coincidence, the Black Mamba was first referenced in relation to Kobe in an ESPN profile in 2005, and then the famous Slam cover in 2006. That Slam cover I have, by the way, or not have, but I had in my locker in high school. Maybe I can find the Slam cover. Let me see if I can, because that would be important for this story. And that's one of those covers. I'm so glad they referenced that cover, because that's one of those covers I'll never forget, which is why I bought into the Kobe, Mamba nickname. But there's a cover of Kobe Bryant where he's holding a bunch of snakes. Oh, please tell me they have it. Let me see. I don't see it here. I put Mamba in. Let me see. Snake. He's wearing the Laker white jersey. Okay, I found it. Yep, this is the cover I had. This is 2006. So I gotta show you all this. This shows you how much of a, you want to talk how much of an insane basketball fan I was and how much I loved the sport and loved the game. This is what's hanging in my cover. I had a bunch of stuff hanging. I had a bunch of other players and stuff. But I had Kobe hanging in the back of my locker. I kind of forgot that until this got brought up. So I'm glad it got brought up. Hold on. All right, here we go. I'm dragging this in. So this picture, that's the cover. So that cover was hanging in my locker. Kobe Bryant, cold-blooded, and it's him holding the Black Mamba snake, or I don't know if it's actual Black Mamba snake, but it's a snake that was black, so it worked for the cover. To me, this is an iconic cover to me. I don't know if it's iconic to anybody else, but this was so, like, he went full tilt into being this Black Mamba. Again, it was funny because at the time, people were like, oh, you can't give yourself a nickname. That's corny. I'm like, he's Kobe Bryant. Like, shut up. He can do what the hell he wants. He's the best player in the NBA. He's one of the greatest players of all time. He's averaging 35 points a game, whatever he averaged that year. What did he average? 35, 37? He's something crazy. The year he got robbed of the MVP. And that Mamba mentality was born. And then Nike of course, backed him up on it, and he became the Black Mamba. Now, again, they pushed it as well. This was just a coincidence that he had this love for the Black Mamba nickname, and it happened to Michael Jordan. I'm not sure if it's coincidence. They can say it's coincidence, but it's just, I don't know. It seems to me like he was playing in the NBA in 2004. He might have been with Nike by that time. I'm not 100% sure when he got signed by Nike, but if he wasn't by Nike yet, he was close, because he had sneaker free agency that was a huge deal at that time. When he left Adidas, and then it was like, is it gonna be Nike? Is it gonna be somewhere else? Like, where's he gonna go? And he eventually signed with Nike. And I definitely feel like this was something he knew. Like, if you're in the Nike thing, you probably know that this was a campaign they had. And Kobe Bryant loving Kill Bill is not surprising, considering he's kind of a crazy person, or was a crazy person. So him saying, oh yeah, Kill Bill, my Black Mamba scene, I like that. I want to rock with that. That's who I am on the basketball court. But it worked, man. I'm glad we remember him as the Black Mamba. I think it's a great nickname. We did our bracket of greatest nicknames of all time, and Black Mamba definitely was on there. I think it was like a 5 seed, if I remember correctly. It stuck. Very few nicknames stick for a name that you actually give yourself. Typically, again, the nicknames that stick are the ones that are given to you. This one stuck, and it's crazy to think that this was a nickname that originally was supposed to be given to Michael Jordan as part of a brand for Jordan, and it didn't work. What was weird about the fact that this was supposed to be a Jordan thing too was the Air Jordan 19, which that comes out in, what is that, 2002, right, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's the end of his career. So it would have been kind of weird to, 2004. Yeah, 04, right, So 04, he actually had just retired. I think this was the first shoe that came out after Jordan retired, if I remember correctly, the second time. Part of me is like, does it make sense to kind of put a nickname on Michael Jordan after he's already retired or he's about to retire? So even that part of it kind of didn't make sense. So there's a lot of reasons why I don't think the Mamba thing would have made sense, but I never would have imagined that Jordan was afraid of snakes. He seems to be a guy that's fearless, but we all have our fears. I'm trying to think, is there an animal I like really, really fear? I mean, I was walking around with alligators and I was fine. Well, I didn't walk around with alligators. Maggie Perloff did. I was in the vicinity of alligators. Maggie, we learned, was deathly terrified of alligators, which we didn't know. I don't know if that's something she didn't tell us before we went on our shoot. And then just to back up for this story, the Louisiana Super Bowl, that was not this past Super Bowl, but last year with Maggie Perloff show, me, Maggie, and Andrew, we did a shoot where we went to our actual real alligator farm. And when I mean that it was a real alligator farm, like in Louisiana, I mean like we drove like an hour and a half out of Louisiana. We're in the middle of nowhere in a swamp, and there's just a guy there with probably 6 fingers, maybe total, maybe 6, maybe less. He's the only guy there. He's the one that does the tour, and we're shooting video, and the whole point was to get them to pile around some alligators. And it wasn't until it was time for Maggie to get into the pit with the alligator that she realized that she was deathly afraid of alligators. I don't know why it took her that long to realize she was afraid of alligators, or I don't know if like she was trying to be like a great team leader and great teammate by being like, oh yeah, sure, we definitely can do this alligator thing. I'm definitely not afraid, knowing that she's afraid, and just feeling like I'm just gonna just fake like I'm fine until I have to deal with this, and then we'll see what happens. I have no idea. I still have no idea to this day why she agreed to do something that she was so afraid of. But it shows you that she'll do anything to bring content and bring entertainment for you guys, the audience. So that's why I got a lot of love for Maggie Gray, and I always will. But so I don't think I was definitely afraid of alligators. I didn't have to go into the pit. I think I think the thing for me, like that was a weird thing. Cause remember, I was coming back from my knee injury, so I was walking around again and stuff. I still wasn't 100%. I'm not 100% now, but now I feel a lot more nimble. I guess my point, I think the thing I would have been worried about would have been like, hey, like if I had to get out of this pit for in a quick way or move in a quick way, like I'm not actually capable. So that was also the reason why I definitely wasn't going to get in the pit. I don't know. I think I would have been okay if I had to get in there with the alligator. I think. But again, it's easy for me to say now, sitting comfortably in my bedroom as opposed to being literally in an alligator pit. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind watching snakes. I don't mind snakes in that regard. I'm not a touch a snake person. I'm not like a daredevil. There's some people who are like, ooh, I want to go and I want to pet random animals. That's not really me. Well, I petted a giraffe, sure. I fed giraffes at the Malibu safari, which was really fun. I petted giraffe, sure. But otherwise, like, keep your bird and snake and stuff off of me. Like, you'll see these people in like Vegas on like Las Vegas Boulevard, or you'll see these people in like Times Square, or you see them in on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter. And you see people, they got a snake, or they got like a exotic bird, and you can go pet the bird for $2 or whatever. That stuff never appeals to me. I don't know. Some people like that's what they want. They get there. Oh, I'll touch the snake. I'm like, I don't want to touch the snake. I don't want anything to do with the snake. We were at the San Gennaro, the Feast of San Gennaro, just it's not a couple, but months ago during September. And yeah, there was like 2 guys. They just had these giant ass snakes, and they're like trying to get people. Oh, come put the snake on your neck. I'm like, why would you want to do this? I don't really understand it. But I can watch a snake. Like if someone wanted to make me a bunch of money by using a snake as a marketing tool for New Generation Media or for my personal brand, I'd have no problem. Like I wouldn't be that afraid of it. I'd be able to see it and not be like, ooh, I'm so scared. So Mike being that afraid of snakes is, I don't know, just not something I would have expected. Because again, he plays basketball so fearlessly, and he seems to move around life without fear, really. So never would have expected that snakes would be a problem. But I think you can see with Kobe Bryant, snakes were definitely never a problem with him. Because as you see there, unless that's a great Photoshop, and they definitely didn't have AI back then. That is him really holding an actual snake right to his face. And again, this is a picture that I had in my locker. And I'll never forget. I'm trying to think what other pictures I had in my locker at that time. I don't remember, but this is the one that was on the back of it. Like I had 2 on the side. I had one side here, and obviously the back. I don't remember what was on the back of it, but it was on the sides. But this was definitely on the back of it. And I did get a lot of comments about it. People thought it was cool that I had it. Girls didn't love it, which I can understand. I think girls kind of like, it's kind of weird. I'm like, he's Kobe Bryant. I'm a basketball player. I literally play on the basketball team. Like, what would you, like, why is it surprising to you that I would want and appreciate Kobe Bryant and want to have his poster in my locker? I don't know. Some people maybe like, well, you're a Knicks fan. I'm like, he's Kobe Bryant. He's average. Did I tell you he's averaging 37 points a game this year? Like, what are you talking about? So, but yeah, no, this actually brought back memories hearing this story. come up that I didn't remember. Some people have claimed that they knew this and they talked about this and they didn't say, and like nobody believed them. And I was like, I don't remember this. That the Jordan 19 was like initially like it was like a black Mamba rollout that they came with it in it and then it ended. I don't remember that. I wasn't really a sneakerhead back then though. Like I was not like into like retro sneakers really. I did like sneakers and I did want to have good basketball sneakers, but I was more like performance. Like it wasn't so much about like, oh, I had the freshest Jordans, or my thing was like, do I have my Air Forces? My thing was, 'cause I went to a Catholic school, so I had to have black Air Forces because I wasn't gonna, because you can get away wearing black. You had to wear black shoes, but if you wore black Air Force One, it was like one of those unofficial rules at my Catholic high school. Shout out to St. Francis Prep. If you wore black Forces, they would not like you would not get in trouble. There were a couple other shoes you could wear, but people always push the envelope. Then someone wants to wear like a Jordan 6 black shoe, and it's like you can't wear those. You can play basketball in those. But I was, so my thing was like, do I have my black Forces? Do I have my all white Uptowns, which was more of a middle school thing, but all right, I got those. I really didn't need any other shoe. I wasn't a sneakerhead like that. For basketball though, it was like, hey, I want to get the new LeBrons. I wore LeBrons in my sophomore year. I actually don't remember what I wore my junior senior year. What did I wear my junior senior year? I don't remember. Well, we had team issue sneakers one of the years. It might have been both actually. We might have had team issue Nikes, if I remember correctly. Oh, what a weird time that was. Freshman year, I wore the 2K5 Hirachis. That was important. And I also wore the LeBron 2s for like my AAU team. I didn't actually play games with, but I trained with. Those were, I was a big LeBron sneaker guy. I really liked the LeBrons at that point in time. I thought that those were probably the best sneakers. If we didn't have team issue sneakers my junior and senior year, I probably wore LeBrons my junior and senior year. Oh, and I loved the Kobe ones. I wore those too. I wore those one summer playing for one of my another summer league team that I played for. Shout out to Elmcore. I wore the Kobe Prontos, the black and white ones. Those are one of my favorite sneakers. I know the Pronto one just came out recently again, and had I had a job and not been broke, I would have bought them. Even though, again, I'm like, there's no business in me trying to get on the basketball court, but I would have bought them just for the vibes. Because these are actually, let me see if I can show you guys these. These are actually one of my favorite shoes. One of my favorite shoes ever. Yeah, let me see if I can bring a picture in here. Yeah, these are the Kobe Prontos. They just recently got posted on Nike.com. I haven't gotten to my sneaker game bag with you guys. That's another aspect of EJ that is definitely a part of the whole shebang. But I'm not a super sneakerhead. But those are the Kobe ones. I had these, but I had them in black and white. So it was like black, and this was like all white. The purple sides were all white. It was a 6 shoe. They've dropped them a couple of times. These are sneakers, by the way, Kobe wore when he had 81 points. So that's why they're very infamous. But they don't drop them as much as you think they should. I love this basketball shoe. I think this is one of the best basketball shoes I've ever played in. I played the best in them. That was a good summer for me playing with Elmcore. But I love these shoes. They were lightweight. They were, Kobe ended up going to low tops, and I hate playing in low tops. But this is the last kind of like mid to high top shoe that he had, and these were sick. And these are my favorite Kobe Bryant shoes. These are my favorite basketball shoes. But I was big into Kobe's, big into LeBron's. I never really got into Adidas. I did wear some Adidas. They had like the pro models. I wore those in my post high school career, playing like pickup and playing whatever. I like the pro models too. The shell toe was a little weird. It was weird to have a shell toe on like an actual basketball shoe. So like the first week of playing in them, I definitely had like screwed up like big toenails and stuff. But once you work them in, they were a good shoe as well. I can talk about shoes forever, especially basketball shoes. Anyway, let's keep it moving. I want to talk about, we got to get into this. All right, so I've been talking a ton. We're kind of past the All-Star weekend, but I think now everybody's coming up with their ideas of what they could do potentially to fix the All-Star game. And I think I have now seen what is the most inspired one so far. It's the one I've kind of been pushing. Just give these guys money. Give these guys money. Now, I don't know if this is the money that's getting people out of bed, but at least now we're starting somewhere. So Matt Ishbia, who is the owner of the Phoenix Suns, recently posted that he will be willing to offer $1 million to anybody who wins an NBA All-Star competition during NBA All-Star weekend. So that means 3-point contest, dunk contest. I would assume that also means shooting stars, but I'm not 100% sure. Anybody. And I guess if they end up coming with this one-on-one tournament that they're talking about, I assume that's going to be a part of it too. But he's saying that he's willing to put up $1 million for the winner and $1 million to their charity of choice for every event that happens during All-Star weekend. That's for the 2027 dunk contest. He said on Pat McAfee's show, quote, "Let's get the best guys in and let's make it awesome," which where he talked about the $1 million deal. Ishbia says he did not consult the league office before making the offer, sources said, but he is motivated to find a way to get more stars in the event. And I actually saw a couple of days ago, the T-Wolves were playing the Trailblazers on Peacock as a doubleheader, after the Knicks-Pistons game. And Vince Carter had a long conversation on the court, him and Carmelo Anthony, with Anthony Edwards. And we don't know if they were joking, but Vince Carter says he was talking about him getting him in the dunk contest. He said that was the conversation. And the way Ant-Man was animated and he started faking dunks and stuff, it seemed like maybe that was true, but you never really know. Because remember, Vince Carter had that weird conversation with Karl Towns, and he said, "Oh, I was just giving him a pep talk." It didn't look like a pep talk. You look like you yelling. You look like you were yelling at him. Vince Carter, he seems like a good OG. I feel like, we talk about the late, great Kobe Bryant. I think not having his voice, I think it's really hurt the game, too. Because I think what has really kind of kept a lot of guys throughout the history of the NBA, kind of kept their understanding of what it meant to kind of move the game forward, has always been, the generation that came right behind them. Mike always talks about how much, Larry and Magic were so big in his eyes, and he had to, surpass those guys, and those guys were, the OGs of the sport, and they set the standard. And then Kobe, again, we know how he felt about Mike. And for the LeBrons and KDs and the Stephs, Kobe would have been their guy, and then Kobe passed away. And that's why some of the stuff we talk about and how the sports kind of lost their way, maybe not having that influential voice of that generation not being there. The other guy would be Tim Duncan, and Tim Duncan doesn't say anything. So, and I don't think anybody's listening to Tim Duncan. Kobe Bryant, he talks, people listen. Not having that voice, I think has definitely been missed. So I look at this as an opportunity with we want to get guys in the dunk contest. I've been saying $5 million to people who wins. That's the number I put out there. $1 million is a start. I don't know how much you win now, but it's not $1 million. I think it may be a couple $100,000 if I remember correctly. $1 million is not nothing. I don't know if it's getting Anthony Edwards out of bed. I don't know if it's getting Ja Morant out of bed. We got some stars in the NBA making $50-60 million a year. Anthony Edwards making, $50-something million a year, whatever. I don't know if $1 million is getting you out of bed. Now, that's a lot of money for one night of work. And maybe lowers the risk of you feeling I might get hurt or whatever. Well, here's $1 million. Could you try to do this thing? So maybe there's something there. But I think the number needs to be higher. But I do love this. I think this is inspired. I know you may say it's silly, but I think that's the only way this thing comes back. Is you have a number that's so massive that it just doesn't make sense for a star not to put your name in. Because if there's, again, I think $5 million on the line, that's a lot of freaking money. Even for a guy making $50 million. $5 million? All right, that's the equivalent of playing a tenth of a season in one night. I think you would consider jumping in and saying, all right, maybe I will do this thing. So, do you think that a $1 million offer will work in terms of getting guys in the dunk contest? You also get the money for charity, so really it's $2 million, $1 million for the dunk contest winner, $1 million to the charity they want. And I would hope maybe NBA owners would maybe jump in and maybe help. Maybe Ishbia offers 2, maybe someone else comes in, hey, I'll offer 2, or I'll offer 2, or I'll do whatever. I think that they have the money. That's my whole thing about this, is the NBA just signed a massive TV deal. The NBA is a comfortably profitable business. They have the money to spend. They're giving guys $260, $300 million contracts. They have money. I don't know why, if you really want to get guys to do this thing, if it really is important to you, why you just also give them the money that it would take to get them involved in this. It's just like boxing or just like MMA, where you're trying to negotiate a contract to get a guy to fight. A lot of guys want a certain amount of money guaranteed just to step into the building. I don't know why you just don't give guys $1 million just to start. just to get in. Here's $1 million. I'll offer you $1 million to do this. You have the money. If you want to say, hey, maybe not a big offer to somebody who wins, just get, okay. Hey, man, here's $1 million. Can you please do the dunk contest? John Morant, here's $1 million. Please do the dunk contest. You're only putting 4 guys in. We're not asking for 20 guys in the league. We're only asking for 4 guys. All right, $1 million to every guy. The winner gets 2. Now you can leave with $3 million at the end of the night. I think you may get guys that want to do it. You're definitely going to get some decent players. Even if you don't get the Anthony Edwards of the world, maybe you get some mid-tier guys or guys we've at least heard of. We're not getting the Kashad Johnsons and Carter Bryants, with all due respect. Like, we don't want to see those guys. We want to see the guys who are stars. They can be the best dunkers in the world. I don't think people really want to see those guys. And that was the thing about, like, because, like, there is an aspect to, like, the dunks. Like, there's only so many dunks you can do. And it's only so many will be impressive. And that's 100% true. But there's a difference between Mac McClung doing a dunk and Ja Morant doing the same dunk. There's other guys who could have jumped from the free throw line probably, other than Michael Jordan and Dr. J. But it means more when it's Michael Jordan and Dr. J jumping from the free throw line. Like, Harold Miner was able to do awesome dunks in the dunk contest. But it did not mean as much as when Michael Jordan was doing a lot of those same dunks. Or when Donnie Wilkins was doing those same dunks. It's just different. It's different. So I think some of the guys say they feel like, oh, I can't do some of the things these other guys do. You don't have to. Trust me. Ja Morant, I don't know how Ja Morant is now. It seems like he's lost a little bit of a step. But in his prime, Ja Morant and Zion Williamson and Anthony Edwards, what you guys are able to do is certainly good enough for your star power to put together an entertaining dunk contest. I don't know if this is going to move the needle. I don't even know, like, knowing Silver, like, my guy Zach Gelb was talking about him yesterday. Knowing him, he'll find a way to screw this up. He'll say, oh, that's against league policy and blah, 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 blah. We can't do this because of ethics and blah, 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 blah. He'll do something to screw this up. No one will look a gift horse in the mouth and turn the other way like Adam Silver. So this is a gift horse to him. You got one of his owners just saying, hey, I'll just go off. Here's money that you don't even have to take from our coffers. I'll just give it out of my pocket every year. And somehow he won't allow this to happen. But I think it's inspired. I like it. I think it's a good idea. Shout out to Matt Ishbia, who's kind of taking a little bit of a face turn. Remember, the whole Bradley Beal thing didn't work. The Kevin Durant thing didn't work. The Suns were kind of a disastrous team. Remember the first playoff series that he was the owner? He, like, bumped Nikola Jokic during a game. Like, he had that weird recorded phone call. I don't know how it got leaked. It got leaked where he sounds like he's in Superbad, or that he's in, like, Wolf of Wall Street, where he's, like, cursing every 2 seconds. He sounds like a cartoon character. Like, he's kind of been a joke in the NBA so far. He definitely has had the new owner syndrome. I feel like he's kind of taking a face turn. You know, he came out aggressively against these owners that are tanking. He's doing this $1 million offer. The Suns are a pretty good team. It seems like they're going in the right direction. And I think Ishbia is feeling himself, which is why he's putting himself right in front of this whole situation, seeing he can help. And I hope they allow him to help. Going back to the chat, Bob Custer, when talking about Kobe Bryant, said, I thought Kobe gave himself that name. Yes, he did. The question now is, like, where did he get it from? He says he got it from Kill Bill, which is what is not really being disputed in the article. But it is now public knowledge that, like, this was a marketing campaign originally for Michael Jordan and the Air Jordan 19. Now, did he had to have known that, because he became a Nike athlete right around that time. So did he think, oh, like, Mike's not going to use it? Well, I will use it. Especially now we know they had this very close relationship. Was he opportunistic in that regard? Or is this a coincidence that this was a campaign for Jordan that failed or didn't go anywhere, and then Kobe just picked it up because he then saw a movie? I tend to think that he picked up the ball after Mike dropped it and said, "Ooh, this would work for me, and I love this nickname." And he's very obsessed with he was very obsessed with everything involving Mike, because he wanted to be the greatest. That's my theory. But yes, he did give himself the nickname. But again, the story was that he got it from Kill Bill. When now the story seems like it may not quite. That's not quite how it went. It seems. apparently Nick Costos is crashing out. EJ Nick Costos going crazy. He at least admitted how he and his two experts were wrong about St. John's. So Nick Costos is upset about the fact that St. John's got destroyed yesterday. Shout out to Nick Costos. He's also a great dude. We got to meet him a bit. And obviously, he was a staple on Maggie and Perloff's show. You know, we do shows at the same time, so getting him on this show is probably a little hard. And, you know, considering he has to wake up early, I don't know if that night show makes sense for him. But it was a bad night. There's no question it was a bad night. I didn't realize he picked St. John's to, I don't know what the spread was, so I don't know what it would have been. I would have, it's easy to say now, I would have bet on UConn. St. John's never plays, historically, they never play well when they go on the road to UConn. They never have. Even when they were really good. It's just a place they always lose. At least when I was growing up. Like late 90s, early 2000s, like they had a really great rivalry during that time. And, you know, UConn was the class of the Big East, but St. John's was one of the top teams in that conference as well. St. John's could get them at the Garden from time to time. Though, again, Rip Hamilton and Cleet El Amin and Jake Voshko, oh, God, even think about these names. Just I hated this team so much. But those guys, they also had their way. They had some big games on the road at St. John's, too. So I'm surprised that, I guess he's surprised that St. John's played so poorly, just because the history suggests that they don't play well there. Though, again, this is the worst loss St. John's has ever taken at in any game, home or on the road, against UConn in that series. Definitely want to talk about this. I'm so excited for Mortal Kombat 2. So excited about Mortal Kombat 2. And I said this yesterday, and I'll back up again and kind of talk about what I said a little bit last night. So, I love video games, number one. I wasn't someone who like regularly played Mortal Kombat growing up. I assume my parents didn't love the violence of it, but I don't think they really would have cared so much about this game about violence. I don't know. We've had Mortal Kombat in the house from time to time. I've played it from time to time. I've definitely gone to arcades and played it. I'm very familiar with Mortal Kombat. The characters, the story, like I'm very familiar with it. It's not a game I've played regularly. We've had the game in the house, obviously, as an adult. I've had versions of Mortal Kombat as an adult. I'm more of a Tekken fan in terms of a fighting game. You tell me what's my fighting game. Like, I'm very familiar with Street Fighter. I'm very familiar with Mortal Kombat. My game is Tekken. But certainly, Mortal Kombat is an iconic video game brand. And I am a huge fan of the 1990s movie Mortal Kombat, which is awesome 90s camp. It is, to me, an almost perfect movie. It's funny. The action's good. It's very true to the story, true to the game. Like, video game movies typically are almost always horrible. Like, not even close to being good. Like, I'll be honest, these kids that have gotten to see this Super Mario movie and the Sonic movies, they are very fortunate. Because the Super Mario movie, because these movies are pretty decent. The Super Mario movies I had, like, when I was, like, old enough to know that there was a Super Mario Brothers movie, and then I watched it, it was like an actual like live action guy who was an actual plumber, and it was like I was like, this is Super Mario Brothers? This is awful. Most of these movies are awful. Street Fighter the movie, it's not terrible, but it's they try to make video games movie, it just never works. It's so weird because I feel like they actually lend themselves to be very good movies in theory, and they haven't figured it out. It seems like they might be figuring it out now. So shout out to these kids that now getting to watch Sonic and Mario and be like, oh, these are pretty good movies. I'm like, well, I wish I had that when I was a kid. I didn't. I had terrible movies like, again, the Super Mario Brothers movie from 1990 that came out. Mortal Kombat is not in that class in my opinion. Mortal Kombat 1 I think is awesome. Mortal Kombat 2 is hot garbage. Mortal Kombat 2 from the 1990s is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And probably one of the worst fall-offs you'll ever see from a sequel. Because that was that time when, like, I don't think they kind of quite... There were sequels being made, but I don't think Mortal Kombat 1 was made to be a sequel. I think they made it because, like, oh, this kind of made money, and people kind of liked it. Let's do another one. But, like, the story that came up with the second one was just... It was ridiculous. So, then there was no more after that. They were like, all right, we're done. Because this is one of the worst movies that came out for that year. But for years, people were saying, yo, man, y'all should make a new Mortal Kombat movie. Like, okay, the second one sucked, but, like, it's a great story. Characters are fun. Action, violence, beautiful women. Seems like it would be up for everybody who would want to see this movie. And it took them years and then multiple fan campaigns, but eventually they finally greenlit an actual Mortal Kombat movie that came out during the pandemic. This was around 2020. I liked the movie. The movie, in terms of the Rotten Tomatoes score, is probably somewhere in like the high 50s. It was not like that critically acclaimed. There's some people who do like it. It is very campy, but that's okay to me. Like, I don't have that problem in terms of, like, this was 2021, by the way, when this movie came out. That doesn't bother me. Like, I'm fine with camp. Yes, 55% of Rotten Tomatoes, so I was right on the money. 55% of Rotten Tomatoes. There's aspects of it that I think are really good. Is it really stupid at times? Yes. Are there aspects that are a little laughable? Yes. But overall, I think it was a pretty good movie. So they're going to make a sequel, which we knew was kind of the plan. The hope was that they would make a sequel. And I think even though it kind of didn't come out in traditional theaters the way, because the world was just kind of opening up when Mortal Kombat 1 came out. This was April of 2021. So movie theaters might not have been open yet by that time. Because we probably didn't have a vaccine until like that January, that February. So this was a movie that came out only on HBO Max. At that time, maybe it was Max. Who knows? And I liked it. Rotten Tomatoes score is not the greatest, but I bet the fan score is probably pretty high. Let me see. What's the fan score? Yeah, fan score is 85. Like, a lot of fans liked it. But still, we know it's kind of campy. It was a little... I think some people wished it was a little more serious than it actually ended up being. This trailer that came out yesterday, which now features Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage was not in the first movie. One of the big issues with the first movie was they centered the story around a character named Cole Young, who is an MMA fighter who is not part of Mortal Kombat at all. Like, they just made him up. He was like the central character. And I think people were like, who is this guy? Like, I want to see a story centered around Liu Kang or centered around Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which they were big parts of it, all three of those guys. But they kind of threw in this random guy and made him like the center of the story. It's like, who is this guy? I don't want to see this guy. So that was one of the big plights of the last movie. And also, it was like, where the hell is Johnny Cage? Like, Johnny Cage is, for many people, is like everybody's favorite character. He's the American actor who has the quick whips, and obviously he's in love with Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage is the man. But he was not in this movie. So everybody's like, where the hell is he? He's in this one. He's going to be in this one, and he's going to be the central character of this one. Obviously, Johnny Cage was a big part of the first movie and why the first movie did so well. And this is looking like this is going to be legit. Here's some pictures from this movie. There you got Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, and Jax. Played by what's her name? Kai Brooks. Sonya Blade played by Jessica McNamee, I'm sorry. You also got here, this picture was really dope too. You got this picture of Liu Kang versus Shao Kahn. The special effects in this movie have looked great so far. The action scenes that they showed during the trailer, which I hope you guys check out at some point, they stepped up the actual fighting in this movie. Because the fighting in the first movie was pretty good, but the fighting in this one, I'm like, oh, they stepped it up. They realized that they had even more potentially. They had more potential to even do more when it came to how they were doing this. By the way, Carl Urban's gonna be playing Johnny Cage. He seems like a perfect fit based on the little bit of we've seen from him. Here we got another shot here of Scorpion. You got Kano in the background, and of course Johnny Cage here. And of course the money shot there. Johnny Cage, sunglasses, light in the background. This is him I think he's on the acting set in this scene. I love this trailer, man. There were a ton of characters. Katana's going to be in this movie, so I'm really excited about that. This one looks like it's going to be awesome. I saw none of the Cole Young character that's played by Louis Tan. I don't know what happened to him. I assume maybe he dies early on because they probably realized nobody wanted to see that guy because he was nowhere to be found. Because I was like, where's he was the whole part of the first movie. So where is he? Kung Lao also has a scene in the movie, which I'm not going to spoil the movie, but it's still, But it's not to spoil the first movie, but it was cool to see Kung Lao in this one. I thought it looked great, man. I thought it looked great. Like my expectations were not like super high, because I think I have an understanding of what to expect from like a Mortal Kombat movie kind of game. Like I'm not expecting this to be a critical darling, which is why I think I was surprised so many people were like complaining about the first one. I'm like, it's Mortal Kombat. Like it's not gonna be an Oscar winner. It's just you want to see people fight and get their heads cut off and like cool, fatalities and see the good guys win in the end. You do? All right, then turn on some Mortal Kombat. That's what you're here for. And that's what they gave you in the first movie. I thought it was fine. But then people were like, oh, these characters are weird and all. The Cole Young, Louis Tan character, that was the worst part of the movie, and it sucked because he was like in the entire movie. And I'll admit, that took me out a little bit. I kept waiting to say, oh, maybe he's not actually Cole Young. Maybe he's some other character that hasn't been, like maybe he's secretly somebody else. And no, he just was Cole Young. So I don't know who thought about that. Whoever, I'm hoping that person got fired. Whoever thought that was a good idea. But this movie, they didn't. There was no Cole Young. Cole Young was nowhere to be found. I think he was like briefly in the first trailer. I get the impression he's gonna die early. Like they'll put him in the movie, but they're like, listen, man, that didn't work. We're gonna put you out of your misery very fast. So maybe he loses to Shao Kahn. Maybe that puts Shao Kahn over. But this, you're gonna have Kano back. You're gonna have again, Katana's gonna be in this movie. Jade is gonna be in this movie. A lot of the characters that you know and love from Mortal Kombat will be back. Cabal's going to be back, apparently. So I can't wait, man. I don't know if you guys have seen the Mortal Kombat trailer, but check it out. It's really good. John Lee in the chat saying, I suck at Mortal Kombat. I do too. I'm much better at Tekken. I'm better with games where it's like combination fighting. I'm better at than like 2 or 3 moves to do a combination kind of fighting. So like I'm not good at Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I'm pretty good at Tekken. I haven't played in a while. Like I have to like practice a little bit and play a little bit. But there was a time like I think Tekken 6. I want to say Tekken 7. I got kind of nice. Like I was legit nice. Lily was my character on Tekken, which is kind of like an odd character to be, but I don't know. It just worked. Her fighting style made sense to me. Her movesets made sense to me. It was the most natural I had with all the characters I fought with. So I was pretty nice with Lily on Tekken. I could beat some people on Lily on Tekken. Now my brother, Shamari, who's been on the show, he is awesome at Tekken. Like there was a time where on Tekken, again, Tekken 6, I believe, he was ranked, I think, in the top like 15 of like all characters with, well, of all Xbox Live, this is OG now, Xbox Live Tekken players for like one particular person. I forgot who it was. He would remember better than I do. Who did he play with? I don't know. I don't think it was Lee. Maybe it was Lee. Might have been Lee. I don't remember exactly who it was. But my brother got really nice at Tekken. He got really nice. Like, and I know some people that are really nice at Tekken. And my friend Jeremy Cortez, shout out to him from high school. He was also really nice at Tekken. Remember that Shamari got legit. And during this past Comic-Con, not this year, but last year, they had a Tekken tournament. Well, they didn't have a Tekken tournament. They had a guy who was playing, who was like the 8th best Tekken player in the entire world, who was there. He was just like playing people in Tekken. You could like sign up to play him. And Shamari played him, and he actually like beat him in a round. He didn't win because the guy was insane, but he beat him in a round. Like he actually, like all these people, he was just beating like 3-0. Like, you know, it's like it's best out of 5 in a Tekken match. It's just, you know, he was just beating people 3-0. Most people couldn't even touch him. Shamari actually beat him in one round, and like I thought, and he almost beat him in the second round. Like it was like a real match against like a world-renowned Tekken player who was one of the best in the world. And we were hoping Shamari would win. We're like, yo, Shamari, if he wins, this is going to be crazy. Me and Kendall, my brother, we were just like bugging out. And then he played in a tournament at that Comic-Con. I think he finished, I think he went to the semifinals of the gaming tournament that Comic-Con had, New York Comic-Con. So my brother is legit at Tekken. And then this is like him kind of rusty. This is him like he's kind of out of season. He don't play like that anymore. And he's able to go up against the 10th best player in Tekken or whatever and almost win. And like go into a tournament and go all the way to the semifinals of a Comic-Con tournament. Like he's like that. I mean, back in the day when Shamari was like in college, like his college age version of playing Tekken, when that's all you worry about, just play video games and you eat pizza and you have fun or whatever. That's all you're just a kid or a young adult. When he had that kind of time, he was ridiculous at Tekken. He was so nice. But yeah, I suck at Mortal Kombat. I'm pretty good at Tekken. I'm not good at Street Fighter either. What else we got here? So I love going to the movies. I'll be seeing it in the movie for sure. I think you'll like this movie. Like, I'll be stunned if this movie stinks. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I was like really this impressed with a trailer. Like typically, like you kind of always have, okay, it's a trailer. You know, you don't want to go too crazy, whatever. And you know, obviously because of the stuff we do with Hero Talk, we talk a ton about movie trailers and stuff for superhero movies. Maybe it's just like where the bar was for me, and then like the height of the trailer. Like maybe for a lot of other movies, like I have higher expectations, so a trailer can only do so much. This was one where I was gonna see this movie regardless, because I was gonna see the Mortal Kombat movie regardless, because I love the franchise. But my expectations for like what the movie's gonna be was low. If the movie was terrible, I was gonna see it anyway. Like, so I expected one thing, especially because I've seen the first movie, and I watched this, and I was like, "Whoa, this looks awesome!" Like this, like they got a better budget. Like the CGI looks better. The fight scenes look better. There seems to be more Mortal Kombat characters. They seem to be playing up the tournament a little bit more now. There may actually be a tournament in this one. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna run to the movie theater to see this. Andrea will not be there because she hates violent movies, so there's no chance she could see this. I think when I watched it, I had to watch it at like 11 p.m. like on that Friday night when she was asleep, so she wouldn't see any of like the gore and violence. She would absolutely lose it seeing it. So this will be unless my homies want to see it. My homies didn't like it either. That's why I told you. There was some people didn't like it. Like I had my friends over, we watched it together. They thought it was stupid. I don't know if they're gonna want to see this one. I liked it. I was like, listen, you guys could hate on it. I like this movie. It's like that Punisher scene from Daredevil season 2. He's like, I did it because I liked it. Hell, I loved it. That's how I feel defending Mortal Kombat 1, the 2021 version. So I definitely will go to see this one in theaters. I'm excited, man. May 8th is when Mortal Kombat 2 comes out. And check out the first one as well. Check out the first one. John Lee saying, have Regal Unlimited, pay $26 a month, see as many movies as I want. Pretty sweet deal if you have the free time in theater close to you. Me and Andrea go back and forth about whether or not we should do that. The commitment of, now we live by a Regal, I'm not going to say where, but we live pretty close to a movie theater where we can get there pretty easily. But even still, because of life, because of work, because of whatever, and because also whatever's in the movies, like you got to actually commit to like going to the movie theaters. And because I'm a crazy person who has to watch all this sports, sometimes like it actually is hard to like actually say, yeah, I'm gonna commit, because going to the movies is not like a 2-hour commitment to the movie. It's really more like a 4-hour endeavor. It feels like 3-4 hour endeavor, because it kind of has to become a date night. So you're gonna have to have dinner before, and then you're gonna go to the theater. You want to get there. Some theaters are weird. Some theaters play movies right on time. Some theaters play movies mad late. But you want to get there at least around showtime to ensure that you don't miss anything. And now with movies, like now you sit through credits way more than you ever have, because what Marvel has done with after credit scenes and mid credit scenes. So typically I'm sitting through the credits as well. And then so like the 2 hours that you have, really it's another 15 minutes tacked onto that. Then you got to walk out, then you get home. So it ends up being a long thing. Like, it ends up being much more of a thing than I think maybe in my head it should be. I think, oh, this will be 2 hours of my time. It's like, no, it's actually like 4. So that's my problem with, like, doing a Regal Unlimited. Like, am I going to commit to, like, getting my bang for my buck? Which would mean probably going to at least, if it's $26 a month, that's at least 2 movies a month. Seems small, but, I mean, I have time right now, to be clear. I don't have a full-time job. But otherwise, seems like a small thing, but I think it kind of adds up if you don't commit to going. But I do want to. I feel like I don't watch enough movies, which is something that everybody tells me. I know Rob DeRay was in the chat a couple of days ago saying, do you watch anything other that's for adults other than superhero stuff? My answer to him is no. I watch sports. I watch now reality TV. I watch the news. And I watch superhero stuff. That's my life. That's what I watch. I don't watch too many more dramas. But what's tough... See, here's the tough thing. You guys, like, I love this. First of all, I love this show. I love not just, I mean, Day 34 was fun, but also I love this show. I love this dynamic. Like, I love being able to present aspects of my personal life to you guys, and I can like talk about them out loud in a way that I typically don't. I think I'm more open to trying shows, but what Andrea has always told me, or what she's told me of late, is that like she really is like she doesn't really love like scripted television anymore, which I kind of get. 'Cause I think scripted television has fallen off. Like there was a time when scripted television was popping. Like what we've been doing recently, we've been watching old episodes of Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec, which is, in my opinion, one of the best sitcoms of all time. Arguably the best. I'm putting it out there. I think Parks and Rec is hilarious. And we've been watching recent episodes of Parks and Rec. We're watching this like, man, like there just aren't. There's no show like this right now. There's no comedy show that's doing it like they're doing it. Like I was watching old clips the other day because I got served an old clip of. Well, actually, it was a kind of a newer clip because this show has been on forever. I got served a newer clip of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is still really funny. And it was it was a scene with Mac, like he's ripped again, and he takes off his shirt and he's like, "Oh, I got a plan. Like I can do whatever." And everybody's like, and like Mindy Kaling is there. I don't know why I have no idea why she's on the show. And she's like, "What's going on?" So, "Oh yeah, he does this thing where like sometimes he's fat and then sometimes he's strong. We think maybe it's like a coping mechanism. We don't know what's going on. Just ignore him." he's like, "Guys, I'm standing right here." He's like, "Yeah, okay, Mac, cool, you're muscular, yay!" And I was dying because it's that being like a bit on the show. The fact that that the actor Rob McElhenney will like actually like put his body through that, where like he randomly gains a lot of weight and then also gets buff and then gets skinny, like, and it's part of the character of the show. Is crazy. I don't know why that's happening or if he's even doing it on purpose, but then they use it as actually parts of his character, Mac. It's just Always Sunny. Again, they ain't making shows like that. I know that show is still on, but you know what I mean. Like they ain't making shows like Always Sunny. They ain't making shows like Parks and Rec. They ain't making shows like The Office, 30 Rock, Community, and those are the comedies. You know, the dramas, I would argue kind of the same thing. Like, you know, I know they're doing Game of Thrones spinoffs. They're apparently pretty good. But I don't know if I'm at the same feel as when I first watched Game of Thrones. So she's not really into scripted television anymore. She watches just a lot more reality TV, which has gotten me into reality TV, which is also scripted, but you know what I mean. Like traditionally scripted television. And also the other thing we watch is a lot of Food Network. I love Food Network. I love Food Network competition shows. Like I'm a super fan of Chopped. We've now become fans of TOC, Tournament of Champions, Supermarket Stakeout, Alice Gordon-Shelley, Alice vs. America. Alice Gordon-Shelley is probably our all-time favorite celebrity chef in the house. She's awesome and a native New Yorker, so shout out to her. I tried to get her on Maggie and Perloff show. That's like, I gotta tell you guys the stories of the people I tried to get on Maggie and Perloff that I didn't get on. Alice Gordon-Shelley was someone I tried to get on, and I just never got a response. I was so mad. I was like, "Oh, this would be perfect." I think I was trying to do like something with like food and like football or something like that. Because this is when we were doing our celebrity picker of the week. Alice Gordon-Shelley was someone I was trying. I tried multiple times to reach her. And I think maybe one time I got a response and said, "Oh, we don't want to do it." And I was so disappointed because I'm such a huge fan. But we don't really watch a lot of scripted television. I tried to get her to watch I Love LA on HBO. We only watched the first episode. The first episode was pretty good. I was willing to watch more. But I could tell when she's like not really that into something. Because if she doesn't mention it again or say, "Oh, hey, we're going to watch the next episode of that thing," then I know, okay, she's not really that into it. So I thought it was pretty good. I know it's gotten kind of a lot of acclaim. And I don't know if it was like, I think it might have been nominated for Golden Globes and stuff. And Oscar and like Emmys and stuff. I haven't gotten to check it out beyond the first episode. I know it got picked up for a season 2, so I was like, I want to watch something. I want to watch something scripted. So I was like, let me try this. And she seemed to like, we watched one episode, but then that was it. I was like, okay. So I don't know. I don't know what the next scripted show is going to be. But I don't watch as much scripted television as I like. But I also would argue, I think I kind of lived through a golden age of definitely scripted comedy. Like, I think that run that NBC had where they were showing on the same night. The lineup, I believe, if I remember correctly, was Office, Parks and Rec, 30 Rock, and then Community. From 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Epic. 2 hours throughout your fall and winter into the spring. Dominated by 4 all-time classic comedy shows. We're never going to see that again. We're never going to see that again. And like feeling like having lived through that has not allowed me to really embrace other shows that have come out, which is, is maybe my fault. Like maybe I should understand, hey, listen, yes, the Bulls won a three-peat. It doesn't mean you stop watching basketball. But damn it, we ain't never going to see nothing like the Bulls again. And it does pain me, and it does make it difficult. So I haven't gotten to scripted TV as much, in part because my fiance, Andrea, also is not super into scripted comedy right now. So again, that's why we watch Love is Blind. Oh my God, last night's episode, by the way. They dropped 2 last night. It wasn't part of the show that I had scheduled here, but I might as well do it anyway. So you guys have known my love for Love is Blind. And we're coming down to finale. Next week is actually the finale. It's perfect that next week is the finale, and it's like the last week of Maggie Pro of 40 Days and 40 Nights, because it fits right in with what I've been talking about in terms of the show, encompassing all things I love. So like I started talking about how much I love this show, and I've given you guys updates on where things stand throughout the season, and now we go into next week and we'll have the finale. I won't go like super into everything that happened in the show, only just a couple of the storylines that happened. We gotta talk about these people. Because this guy, and I should have brought it up because I forgot to bring it up, because there's a sports tie into this actually. So I told you about this guy Alex. These two, Alex and Ashley. If you remember about these two, Alex is the guy who used to be an All-American soccer player at Wake Forest. And we know that to be true. He was an All-American. He was drafted in the MLS in the second round. But he had knee issues. He had 4 knee surgeries, and that essentially ended his career. You may ask what he is doing right now. I couldn't really even give you an answer because it doesn't seem like he has a real job. He says he's a day trader, but also a soccer coach, but also is in finance, but doesn't have a finance license because they expired, because he let them expire. He's also lived in multiple places, including Arizona, New Zealand, Australia, and I guess Cleveland, though that's coming into question. And I remind you, this is a show that is Love is Blind Ohio. So the point is to bring Ohio singles together. Here is someone who we thought lived in Cleveland, and there's questions about whether or not he lives in Cleveland. And what ended up being interesting was we learned that there was another woman, I don't have her picture, but this other woman, Priyanka, who was part of this experiment, who he knew already. He knew previously. They apparently, quote unquote, ran the same friend circle. So that's obviously like a kind of like against the rules. Like he can't date that person. And we had one season where these two like kind of like ended up sabotaging each other. It was really weird. We had 2 people who previously knew each other. It was bad. It was not fun. I thought it was going to be fun television. It ended up not being fun at all. It ended up being awful. It seems like both of them did the right thing where they didn't like talk about the fact they knew somebody on the other side. They just stopped talking to each other once they learned that they were people who knew each other in the past. They wanted to just go through the process without having any information about them be put out. And it seems like that's what happened. But now we're out of the pods. So now people know information about each other. So Ashley and Alex were at the group party that the group has with all the singles and all the couples that came together from this experiment. And the girl Priyanka is there. I don't know why they're sitting and having this powwow. I don't know if Ashley called her over and said, I gotta get some answers from this guy because this guy is telling me a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. But we end up learning that I told you guys about how he had this ex that was in Austin that he went and hooked up with like a month before getting on this show where he's trying to get engaged to somebody and married in 30 days. Doesn't seem like a guy that's serious about marriage, but whatever. What we then learned was not only did he like hook up with this girl in Austin, he also lived in Austin, which he did not tell his fiance. So like this girl that he hooked up with who lived in Austin, he says he never lived there. He never told her that. And Priyanka's like, well, my understanding was, I know you keep saying you're from Cleveland, but my understanding was you were living in Austin during this whole time. So I was very confused why you were even here, because like I thought you were living in Austin. So homegirl's like, yo, what the hell, man? What is your story? Like, is anything true about you? Like, she's saying you're from Austin. You're telling me you only visit Austin to hook up with some girl who you say is still your friend, but you're not trying to get with her. Like, Somehow he weasels his way out of it. I don't know how he did, but he's like, I feel like I'm being attacked. I feel like this is everybody coming after me. I don't know why this girl's here saying these bad things about me. And then he like kind of gaslit his way out of it. And now they're going to a wedding. Like there's going to be a wedding, it seems like, between these two. But there's a sports tie-in because what I didn't mention about this guy, again, he's a soccer player. In the third episode or so, like they're on the beach and they're just talking about his life or whatever. And he's just talking about like being a soccer player. He's like, oh, I've met like great soccer players. And she's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I met Tim Howard, legendary U.S. goalie. He said, Tim Howard, he's a weirdo. Which is kind of like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, he's a weirdo. And then he said, oh, and I've met David Beckham, but David Beckham isn't that good. It's just like, David Beckham? The David Beckham? I wish I had the sound. I would get it, but my computer's acting weird, and I don't want to screw up this stream. Tim Howard heard that about this guy. Like, Tim Howard, U.S. goalie, has a podcast with Landon Donovan, and he heard about this guy on this show talking about him being a weirdo because his daughter, who plays for the University of Tennessee, obviously she's a young woman with a bunch of like other young women teammates. Like they're obsessed with Love Is Blind because a lot of young women are obsessed with Love Is Blind. So like she calls him at like in like a like with her teammates or whatever. It's like, Dad, you can't believe what just happened. Like he's like, what just happened? He's like, there's a guy on the show I watched that talked about you, and he said you were a weirdo. So then, like, so Tim Howard actually had to make a response to this guy, Alex, this, do I call him a contestant? I guess this is I don't think it's a game show, but this participant is the best way to put it. This participant on Love Is Blind to respond to him saying that Tim Howard was a weirdo, which was just crazy. Like, because this guy, we want to talk about weirdo again. We don't really know what his job is. We don't really know where he lives. All we know is that he desperately wants to leave Ohio. He also doesn't seem to know kind of how a woman's body works or the idea of contraception because he's very worried about pregnancy. And he just seems to be all around just like, he hasn't shown to comport himself in the best way, in my opinion. I don't want to go on top of these people because one thing we do see on the internet is they take this show too seriously and then they start going to people's DMs and attacking them and stuff. Like, you ain't got to do all that. It's not that serious. But he has not comported himself in the best way. He looks shady. He looks like a shady dude. But the fact that, like, him and his web of mistruths and his web of saying things to make him look more impressive actually made its way to a U.S. Olympic legend who then had to respond on his podcast. And Tim kind of took it in stride. He's like, listen, I don't know bro closely. I don't really remember any exchange we had, but all I'll say is, like, I could have more to say, but I would appreciate you maybe just give me an apology. Just public apology, say, hey, I didn't mean that, or I was talking out of my way, and then I'll leave it alone. If not, then maybe I have more to say. And Landon Donovan, who's his co-host, if you know anything about Landon Donovan, he's kind of a firecracker. Landon Donovan says, I'm not going to leave it there. And Landon Donovan's like, this guy's a tool. This guy, who the hell does he think he is talking about Tim Howard? Who the hell? And then, you know, also he's friends with David Beckham because David Beckham and him were teammates in LA Galaxy. Now, they weren't friends initially. And then as you watch the David Beckham documentary, you learn that they actually they hated each other initially. But then they became great friends as they continued and they won championships for LA Galaxy. He also, like, he was upset about this comment about David Beckham. He's like, who the hell does this guy think he is saying David Beckham isn't good at soccer? He's some fan. Like, a fan said that's one thing. You actually played Division I soccer. You're going to say David Beckham is not good at soccer? What a tool. So Landon Donovan just eviscerated him. But the fact that this actually made its way up to maybe number one and number two greatest U.S. soccer players of all time. Not joking. That is actually possible to say that about Landon Donovan and about Tim Howard. He made his stupid comment made it all the way up to them. And something he probably thought was never going to be talked about. He never was going to have beef with them. He has all these complaints, all these concerns. People who used to work with him saying, I don't know why he said he's in finance. We worked in tech sales. Like, he's got all these questions to answer for. And now he's got smoke with actual U.S. soccer legends. I find that to be quite funny. So they're going to go to the altar. She's the homegirl. I don't know I don't know what. So it seems like, again, like I said before, she thinks this guy is really hot. That's what I think is moving her forward with this still, even though he kind of doesn't seem to have a job. Or so there was one scene where she was talking about, like, I think she was talking to her friends, and she was like, yeah, like, she was talking about the great qualities about him. He's like, well, he's very passionate about, like, soccer and day trading. I was just like, and that's what you want in a husband? I don't know. It just seemed very weird. But she's made it clear she's very, very attracted to this man. He's a pretty handsome man. Like I'd say, I don't think this picture does him well. Like, he doesn't have the full beard here. When he has a beard, he looks pretty handsome. I'm not gonna lie. And he also has a weird shirt. This is not a good picture of him. He didn't do a good job setting himself up for this picture. But that seems to be what's pushing him along. I don't know if it's gonna work out. I tend to think there's no way in hell she's gonna say yes to him at the altar, because you'd have to be so oblivious to this man's lies to actually say yes to him. He clearly has a lot of work to do. He clearly has some stuff to get his life in order in terms of where he wants to live. He talked about his 5-year plan of, like, I want to have a fabulous house in Florida, a safe house in New Zealand, and I want to have all these kids, and I want to have another house in, like, Arizona. He has some stuff where I'm like, yo, it doesn't appear you have a job. What are you talking about? And you don't seem to want to live in the place where your fiance is from. Seems like you got a lot to work on before you start talking about having 3-4 houses all over the world. But that's just me. But again, shout out. No, not again. I don't want any smoke coming to him or anybody attacking him, because that's the one part of this that's always becomes unfun when people take this stuff too seriously and they want to get in the DMs of people and go crazy or whatever. But last night's episodes were good, man. I enjoyed them. We had these people broke up, by the way. This was the girl that was in the love triangle that shouldn't have been a love triangle with this man, this little gremlin on the bottom right, who I told you is the worst. He looked more like an a-hole. I almost said the fool. He looked more like an a-hole in this episode where he's trying to hit on this girl. This guy that she's with, it seems like a very nice guy. He seems deeply in love with this woman, Bree. And this woman, Bree, appears to want a more toxic love, or doesn't seem to appreciate what he brings to the table. The fact that he has a keg in his house, the fact that his house is kind of messy, and that he's kind of a bachelor pad kind of living, seems to have sent her over the edge, and she dumped him. It was tough. It was cold to watch, but they're now done too. So those two couples are now done. Everyone else is still alive. So they're all going to the altar, as far as we know. And there will be a wedding. We will see if people say yes or no next week. That's where we're at on Love is Blind. But that story with Tim Howard actually having to respond to Bro from Love is Blind is actually crazy to me. Actually insane. Last thing before we get out of here. As we wrap up 40 days and 40 nights here. I wonder if 50 Cent has met his match. I wonder if we look at where 50 has been successful in this 50 Cent 2.0 version of his public life and public career. I wonder if this has been a moment for him that will maybe change how he moves in the future. I'm not 100% sure, but I mentioned it kind of in passing earlier, but I'll talk about it more because it's continuing to persist. 50 Cent and T.I. are in the midst of a beef, and it stemmed from what appeared to be kind of light jabbing at each other that was part of what was going to be a promotion for a versus battle. If you guys don't know what versus is when they take two artists, usually they're legacy artists. They're not usually artists that are like currently making music now, but sometimes they are, but most times they're not. They'll take two artists, they'll do like a joint concert kind of battle where they go back and forth playing songs. There's no like official winner that's actually declared. That's more of like an unofficial thing the fans do, but it's like a little bit of it's a friendly battle that happens. They came up with during the pandemic because obviously they were in concerts, so this was an idea that I think was started by Timbaland. Swiss Beats, who created this, and he created this thing of like, hey, let's do virtual concerts with like Nelly and Ludacris and like Jadakiss and Fabulous, right, and put them versus each other. And, you can't go to a concert, but maybe you can see your favorite artist perform from your living room or from your computer. And it was really successful. Like it had some technical glitches, but it ended up they sold the business and made a ton of money off of it. Like it ended up working out, and it's kind of slowed down a little bit of late. We still have had some. I think Hit Boy had one recently, but it hasn't been quite as prevalent as it was before when we were getting a lot of battles. It seemed like almost every couple of months there was a new battle coming up. We haven't had a real prominent one since, but 50 Cent has been one of the people that have been kind of most requested to do a versus. And there's been various people trying to throw their hat in the ring that people wanted to face 50, and T.I. was one of them. And it seemed like, according to T.I., there was some kind of agreement that was made to actually go through and do the versus battle. So again, you started seeing them do like these little patty cake kind of disses to each other, like on social media. But apparently that was part of their campaign to get the versus speculation and the versus promotion off the ground. Then apparently 50 Cent pulled out. I don't know why he pulled out, but he pulled out. And I guess the way he did it, and I guess when there was an agreement that was put in place, and for 50 Cent to not give a good reason for why he was not doing it anymore, it really annoyed T.I. T.I. made public comments. Then 50 Cent, being the troll himself, starts to troll T.I. because that's what he does. And T.I. said, I'm getting in the booth. I'm getting in the booth, and I'm going to rap. I'm going to rap about how I think this guy is a loser, how he only goes against, he seems to only want to troll black people, how I think he is a snitch, and all the different things that you could say about 50 Cent if you were trying to diss 50 Cent in 2026. And I think a lot of people, because the rapping was good enough where people were like, I think 50 has to respond. Like, I don't think you could just like let this go. Like, T.I. is a big enough artist. He's not a super current artist, but he's a rap legend, no question. He's a big enough artist. He's a big enough famous person to where I think 50 can't just meme his way out of this, which is what he initially tried to do. He posted a picture of T.I.'s wife, Tiny, and then that's when T.I. sent more diss tracks to him. He's, and one of the diss tracks was essentially like a music video, a short music video with him rapping with his family with him. It was his mom's birthday, and Tiny's with him, and his kids are with him, and as a shot at 50 Cent, because 50 Cent kind of, one of the aspects of right now his life is that he, like, one of his sons is always like dissing him. He obviously isn't married, and one of the dark parts about it, which I think I saw Joe Budden said this, and I kind of agree, like 50 Cent's mom is not with us anymore, so maybe a little maybe in poor taste to like, happy birthday, Mom, and we're having a nice little dinner at a family table with my mother who's still here, and my, like, and maybe a little distasteful, but it's rap beef. This is what happens when you get into a rap beef. And it's not stopping. 50 Cent tried to respond again, memeing his way out of this. This is what he thought he could try to do. He posted this response initially. I didn't post the actual. I won't post the actual picture. This was on Instagram because the picture has like a curse in it. I didn't feel like having to try to block it out or whatever. But he said, after the first few disses, 50 Cent said goes to. He said, it's a picture that says stupid ass N-words, and then he says goes to old rappers still trying to battle rap. Chat GPT told me I don't need to rap. You need me to rap. LOL. Get the F off my page. So I think this was him trying to like say, look at this old guy rapping. I'm not rapping, man. Get out of here. Ha ha ha. It didn't back down T.I., who then posted a new diss track with this message, with the tweet that said, message to the, well, I should have probably blocked that out. The what's the name dealer. Not gonna say that out loud. I don't make memes. I make music. I don't give a F what you erase. Because he actually ended up erasing some of the memes because he realized that T.I. was not backing down. So some of the memes he posted, some of the things he posted, he deleted all of them. And T.I. said, I don't care. I'm putting another diss track out. This track called What Bully. And essentially it's him saying, like, they keep telling me this guy's a bully, but he ain't bullying me. I don't see a bully anywhere. I see a guy that is afraid to get into the booth. And this has been a very effective way to diss 50 Cent that most people haven't been able to do. And I don't know why other people haven't tried this. Because I'm thinking about the people, and some people, like Diddy's not going to be able to rap. Come on now. But in theory, like, I don't know, Diddy could have someone write something for him. In theory, he could have. But, like, I think about Ja Rule. Like, Ja Rule, he could make music tomorrow. Like, why don't he just get in the booth and just rap rap at 50 Cent and try to write something so devastating that he has to eventually back down. T.I., I think there's been the first guy in a while. Now, 50 Cent, obviously, he's gotten that Floyd Mayweather, he's gotten that a bunch of people, but those people can't rap, so there's nothing they can do. T.I. still has skills, and T.I. is an excellent rapper. So, 50 Cent's in a tough spot. And I think people are asking the good question of, like, is he obligated to get into the booth and rap with T.I.? Because I'll tell you right now, my instinct tells me that would not go well for 50 Cent, which is why I think 50 Cent's not doing it. Because if you've heard 50 Cent recently, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say he's lost his skills, but he's definitely not the 50 Cent from Get Rich or Die Trying or anything from that era. He's not a rapper anymore. Like he's a movie executive or a TV executive. That's why I see him as. He's more of a TV executive, and he sells alcohol, which is what all these famous people do. So I think he is like kind of, in some ways, being able to hide isn't the right word, but I think he's pushed forward the thing of like, I don't need to be a rapper. I can just like meme my way through certain feuds, and he is very good at internet humor. He is very good at the internet. Like he's just very good at communicating through the internet, using memes, using his social media platforms to diss people without having to ever get into a rap booth. And when some of your ops have been non-rappers, that has made it very hard for them to ever actually come back at you. Some of the people have been rappers, and they still haven't found a way to actually get back at him. This might be the one guy he should have left alone, because now you're in a situation where T.I. is not backing down. He's every diss track comes out seems more and more eviscerating. And the question becomes like, what does 50 Cent do? I personally feel like 50's been checkmated. And I personally feel like I don't think he should get in the booth. I think he's just lost. Like I think if he gets in the booth, that's exactly what T.I. wants. And I think T.I. is in much better rapping shape than 50 Cent is right now, and that's not going to go well for him. So he keep trying to meme his way out of it, but because the other guy is getting on a song and dissing you, and he can keep saying, and literally T.I. said in this last diss he just dropped, you're not going to meme your way out of this. He can keep saying, you're not going to meme your way out of this, get in the booth, guy. And like, there's nothing 50 to do if he's afraid to get into the rap booth and to get into the music, the studio and actually do something. So, right now, T.I. is winning this beef, and he's probably going to win. I mean, 50 Cent, I think, kind of waved the white flag. I saw the recent post. I didn't screenshot this one. But essentially, he kind of posted a meme of, like, essentially alluding to the fact he kind of was ready to move on, which is something for 50 Cent, because he does not move on from anything. But that's where he's at. Again, he deleted all posts about anything involving the T.I. beef. At one point, he posted Tina Knowles, Beyonce's mom, because Beyonce's mom came out in support for Tiny, because 50 Cent had posted an unflattering picture of T.I.'s wife, Tiny. And then he posted an unflattering picture of Tina Knowles. And that's when T.I. had more disses. I'm like, I don't know. Probably because 50 Cent, I don't know if you want to go up the Rock Nation tree. That might be a tree you might not want to bother. But he deleted everything involving that. He posted what was kind of, I guess, supposed to be a funny picture where he's getting on like a private jet. He said, I'm out of here. You guys hurt my feelings, with a sad face to show that, like, I'm leaving this alone, but I'm still rich. I'm still getting on private jets. But, yeah, this is someone who doesn't back, he literally was beefing with Fabulous and, Jim Jones just last week. Like, I didn't even talk about that story, because that's a long story, but, like, apparently 50 Cent, Jim Jones had something about 50 Cent, and 50 Cent said, you guys are squatting at your podcast studio. And then this video of Jim Jones trying to break into the studio that he was evicted from. It is, and 50 Cent somehow got the video, and he's friends with the owner of the building and the landlord, so he got all the paperwork showing that they were evicted. It was crazy. So this is someone that hasn't been afraid of going to a booth and dissing people. Go into social media to diss rappers. And Fabulous tried to rap something to 50 Cent, but it didn't really land, because he didn't really come at him aggressively. Like, T.I. is coming at him aggressively in these bars, and I think this is probably, if you're a rapper and 50 Cent says something about you, I think you have to just diss him to oblivion, and eventually he's never gonna want to engage in that way. I do wonder if something happens to T.I., does he pull up? Like, if T.I. has some kind of issue or some kind of legal issue, something comes up, like does 50 Cent come back and engage again? Because 50 Cent is someone who keeps receipts, and he's someone who remembers all rivals. So I do wonder if this is not going to be the end of this, if this is indeed the initial end of this. But I say this, man, props to T.I. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a Queens guy, so I got a lot of love for 50 Cent. And what was sad about this is I wanted to see the verses. Like, I'm mad that we're not going to see the verses. I think that would have been an awesome verses. I feel like 50 Cent would be one of the toughest people to face in a versus battle, because you're talking about his older catalog of music, which is elite. T.I. also has an elite catalog of music too. I feel like 50 Cent would win fairly convincingly, but I'd want to see it. They're two of the great rappers of my generation growing up as a teenager, as a preteen. So this is like my guys in my era. So I would love to have seen it, but it doesn't seem like we will, because these guys have actual beef. And we're going to leave it there, man. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this edition of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Apologies for coming on a little late today. Computer seemed to calm down once I actually got started. Did not want to cooperate as I was trying to get going. But I appreciate you guys for rocking with me during these 2 hours plus doing this show. So I greatly appreciate that. Again, look for an announcement on my social media, because we're looking to have a pretty big guest coming up later tonight for night 34. So I'm really excited about that. That'll kick off shortly around 6 p.m. The early word is that this guest might be right off the shoot. They might need to do it a little early. So this might be someone that is there with me almost right in the beginning. So don't come late. I'll try not to be late, of course. But don't come late to this show that's happening this evening, because the hope is that we'll have this guest locked and ready to go almost initially. So that'll be coming up later tonight. Again, of course, thank you for watching. We're streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart, on Instagram, Action EJ, and of course on YouTube, streaming live, New Generation Media. John Lean in the chat. Parks and Rec is great. First season is slow, but once they ditch that one character, it really takes off. The bloopers are fantastic too. Yeah, the guy that it's the first 2 seasons. The guy that Leslie was kind of into that then dates Rashida Jones. Yeah, he's not the greatest character. I don't know what they were going for with that guy, but they get rid of him after, I think, season 2. Like we're on season 2 now. And first of all, this first season actually also is really funny too. Like I kind of forgot how funny season 1. First season, like I kind of forgot how funny season 1 was. And then we watch it, like, this is really funny. And then season 2 is like really gets good. But yeah, that character, I don't even remember his name, but that guy, he's definitely the weak link of the cast for sure. Let me pull up his name, because I want to make sure I don't. Parks and Rec. Let's see. Parks and Rec. I don't know why, because he's only there for 2 seasons. I don't remember his name. Characters. Mark Brandanowitz, played by Paul Schneider. Yeah. Right, Brandanowitz, yeah. He wasn't there for the entire run. So I think he leaves after season 2. I don't know why, but I don't want to look it up, because I don't want to get spoiled now that I'm rewatching it. But Parks and Rec was phenomenal. And they always had the joke going back and forth. What's better, Parks and Rec or The Office? And I don't like choosing, man. I will say, I feel like for me, Parks and Rec it's more rewatchable. Let me take that back. I don't know if it's more rewatchable. I find myself feeling more like I'd want to rewatch it more than The Office. I don't know if that means that it's better, but I know Andrea will always stand she likes The Office too, but she always says that she thinks Parks and Rec is better. I think that's not conventional wisdom. I think most people stand with The Office. But some of that might just simply be because The Office is the original, right? Like the original mockumentary kind of comedy series, originally from the UK, then of course brought over the US version. And Parks and Rec is like the next version of that, you know? It's like saying Kobe's better than Michael Jordan, right? It's like, well, this doesn't exist without this. So that's, I think, sometimes some of the argument that gets made, but I don't know if that's relevant. I think that, again, when it comes I want to rewatch a show. Like when she said we should rewatch Parks and Rec, I was like, yeah, let's do it. If she told me let's rewatch The Office, I think I'd be like, oh, okay, sure. I don't know. Parks and Rec it's funny, man. It's just a great show. And I can't wait till Rob Lowe shows up. Because Rob Lowe is one of my favorite characters from this one. I always tell this joke. I don't know if it will land with you guys, because I don't know how much you guys we've talked about a lot of the backstage people from Infinity Sports Network, but one of my bosses was a great man, and is a great man. He's alive. I don't want to make it straight sound like he's dead. He's dead. But my good friend, former boss Dave Marinick, who is a sweetheart of a human being. One of the first of all, the nicest boss I've ever had, but also just one of the nicest people I've ever met. Just a truly, one of those people you truly say will give the shirt off their back to help you. I mean, I remember like during Super Bowl week, the first one I did, and like one of the days I forgot something in my room, like something with my camera or something, and I was like, oh, but I couldn't leave because like whatever we were doing at that time, like I had to be there. So like I had like the awkward moment of asking my boss to go get me something from my hotel room that I forgot. He's my boss. Most other bosses would have probably looked at me like I'm a crazy person and probably would have like yelled at me or whatever. And he kind of like, he was also getting us coffee every morning too, because we couldn't get coffee. So he came with a bunch of coffee to like, which already shows again how much he's just like a team player, so much just a nice guy. So he's bringing us coffee even though he's the boss. So he comes with his coffee and I have to deliver this very bad news because the hotel from where we were it might have been a mile-long walk. Like it was far. It's in the convention center and it's connected to the casino because we were in Vegas. But you know how casinos work. Like what is connected could still be a 20-minute walk. It was about a 20-minute walk from to go back to my hotel room. And like he gave like a sigh, but he's like, sure, no problem, EJ. And he just like went and did it. And I was like, wow, what a nice man. He did it. And he came and he did it, no problem, came in, helped me. And I was so generous. He was so helpful for us during that week. And he's just a great guy. I bring him up, one to shout him out, because I don't think I've shouted him out a ton. And I've tried to shout out everybody I have a love for in this industry. But he reminds me so much of Chris from Parks and Rec. Like how Chris was like, you know, he was like this health nut that was like very chipper and always like trying to look for the positive and everything. That is my former boss, Dave Marinick. And I told somebody that finally, I think it was Maggie. Maggie said, oh my God, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, he's very much like Dave. So I haven't gotten to the point where Rob Lowe's character comes in, but he's also one of my favorite characters from this show. So, and the fact that I got to meet Dave and I got to work with him, it was a thrill because he was just an awesome guy. But I always he always had a special place in my heart because he reminded me of Parks and Rec, because like he reminded me of a character from that show. Always positive, always enthusiastic, also health conscious, just like Chris from that show. So that's just a funny story I thought I wanted to tell you guys. But yeah, man, Rob DeRay in the chat loves Parks and Rec. It's, man, we're never gonna have that run again. That NBC slot, that block of primetime television, we're never gonna see again. Where you got Office, Parks and Rec, 30 Rock, and Community, never gonna see that again. That's like the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. NBC was they were going supernova during that time, and scripted TV they ain't like that anymore. It definitely is not. All right, I think I've talked enough. I'll see you guys a little bit later. Let's hit the music. Thank y'all for watching 40 Days and 40 Nights. Day 34 wraps up here. One of our longer episodes. This went 2 hours and 20 minutes. Wow, long one. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll be back later tonight for night 34. Hope to have a special guest. Don't want to say who it is because I want to make sure I get it confirmed. But once it's confirmed, you'll see on social media who that is, and I'm really excited about that if we're able to make that happen. Either way, we're going to have a fun show. I'm EJ Stewart. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I'll see you later tonight.